It's like old school Russian.
3, 2. There's something I like about the fact that you can smoke in here.
Yeah.
I like that people can be relaxed.
Thank you.
I had to find a comedy club to shoot our special where Dave could smoke.
Where'd you go?
Comedy Cellar.
The underground. Yeah.
The underground, they let you smoke?
Well,
no, but they let him smoke.
I think there's like a rule where if you're a performer, you can get away with it because it's a part of your routine.
Like a cabaret, still on the books.
Don't take my word for that. I believe I learned that from Dice while he was on stage.
Yes.
I think you read that in the Dice Chappelle manual.
Yeah, well, they just can get away with it, right? Yeah, Dave's always smoking on stage.
No, I don't smoke anymore. But I'll tell you one thing, that year in between, like, where you're not allowed to smoke on stage, that was a tough year. Because you used to, like, smoking and the crowd smoking, and, it was, like, kind of a fun thing.
A punchline enhancer, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dave, you do smoke on stage.
Not all the time. Like, towards the end of it, maybe.
Not only that, but when we were on the road and we do like an hour and a half, he'll pretend he's getting a phone call or something. He'll go smoke, leave me on stage by myself.
Really?
Yeah, but it gives you a chance to, like, open up a long form bit.
Oh, nice.
Now you're hearing it, Joe. You're really hearing the whole story behind the bumping mic. Behind the bumping mic.
What do you get out of smoking on stage? It just fulfills the nicotine fix, or does it actually give you something? Because they say it. I smoked one of Tony Hinchcliffe's cigarettes a couple of times before I went on stage, and you get like a pick me up. There's a little something. You get like an enhancement.
I'll say it right now. It definitely is a weakness that, like, now that I don't drink, don't do anything but like coffee and cigarettes. It's like it's breathing for me. But on stage, it does focus. It helps focus you.
They say it's legitimately. They say nicotine is actually a good nootropic.
Is it?
Yeah, it actually enhances cognitive function. Like if you do a test without nicotine, then do a test with nicotine. This is non-users. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It makes me nauseous if I accidentally smoke a blunt and not just straight weed or something.
Really?
And just tobacco. Like Snoop handed me something the other day, and I thought it was all pop, but there was tobacco in there.
These things are the shit.
What is it?
Blunts. There's a.
I can deal with it on the paper.
Jamie, where'd you get these? Where were they at?
This company, Hollywood's, I don't know, the stores like
these are the
shit.
These are my favorite.
I'll have to check them out.
It's Charlie Murphy got me into these things back in the day because he would roll them himself. He would get those Swisher Sweets and he would tear them apart and then he'd put the weed inside of it and roll it up.
Oh.
Yeah, old school. And then Chappelle got me into it again because I smoked one with him one day at the back of the Comedy Store. I was like, damn, this is a weird high.
Yeah, what is it like?
You get a buzz. It's like you're a little bit high, but you're also a little bit buzzy from the tobacco.
Wow.
I like it. I'm a fan.
Whatever it takes to make the jokes fly, bro.
Yeah. Whatever they were smoking when they made your jacket.
Dave will smoke a cigarette right before we go on, and I'll take like one hit of weed right before we go on, and we meet in the middle.
Yeah, one hit's good.
One hit before.
Yeah, not too much.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, have you gone too much before?
No. Not in a long time.
Yeah, you feel like I'd like one more, but that's a dangerous decision.
Yeah, you want to stay a little quick. Coffee though, I need coffee before I go.
Yeah,
Red Bull will make me too like jumpy and nervous, but coffee will get my brain working just a little bit quicker than the audience's.
Did you guys do this one time as a goof and then start touring with it, or did you just put the idea together? Like, what made you decide to work together like this?
It all started out just late night at the Comedy Cellar where, I'd be on stage and I would just see Jeff in the room and I would bring him up and then we would just, throw down basically and have a great time. And, we kept doing it and people actually would, like they wanted to see it. It became like this kind of like, are you guys going to go up together? They would always ask us, are you guys going up together? Should we get the next mic going? That kind of thing.
How it really, when I started living in L.A., or not even when I started, but in the last few years, I'd come back to New York. I have an apartment in Greenwich Village near the Comedy Cellar. And, it's like Cheers. Everyone knows your name. You land, you go, instead of going to my empty apartment, I'll go, let's see who's at the cellar, get something to eat. And I'd start booking my flights where I'd land around midnight. Dave would inevitably have the 1 a.m. spot. And I just wanted to get my yayas out. And he would just bring me up. And he'd sit by the piano and I would goof off. Or I'd sit by the piano and he would tell jokes. And we started setting each other up. And organically, our friends started popping up with us. Or people from the audience. Or whatever bachelorette party. And we just started making an act out of it without even realizing it.
Yeah, it was like it was a lot of fun. Like in the beginning, especially because it was like, he really kept me on my toes. Like listening is like the hardest thing, listening on stage,
Right.
Right.
Because once you're up there alone, locked in, like you control all like facets of the performance. But when there's another person up there, especially Jeff and I, we have so many different skill sets. So like it was really cool to like work off of them. It brought up my game a bit. It definitely made me quicker and faster and funnier to have to like, really pretty much roll with it, and I think that the crowd dug that too. It was like a different energy than just straight up like a showcase,
The one thing that you would do on a podcast that you wouldn't normally do on stage, which is look at someone else.
Right.
And it took me a long time, and I think I could speak
we
for
had
Dave too.
a million arguments on looking at each other.
I'm
Whether or not
like a
Dave,
couple.
It's like sports. If you look at somebody,
Yeah.
you're never going to not catch that ball. But when you're wondering what the other guy's doing and you're kind of going like this, but it's like we connect now. And instead of doing like in tandem one at a time jokes, we do jokes together.
That's hard.
Like that's a weird thing where like you see twins, where twins will do an act and one guy will do the setup and the other guy will do
Yes.
a punchline, and then they do a double punchline together.
We're hoping for that one day.
I feel like
Too coordinated.
I feel like it's 1 + 1 = 3. Two headliners get together by choice, not by necessity.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Dave, it took a lot. Dave did not want to go to Montreal. We went up to the comedy festival, and I basically begged him.
Yeah.
And
To do it together
Yeah, I saw it mostly as just like a fun thing to do,
It's a hobby.
you know.
at the cellar.
Yeah, like it was just like a cool, like, basically like just let it all hang out. But Jeff saw like, I guess, the next step to it. So
I always just thought it was something that if the comics wanted to see it that bad, and then more and more comics wanted to come on stage with us, and then more and more, like Jim Carrey came to one of our big shows in Montreal, and all the headliners started popping up with us, and I thought, oh, this is more than just us as a hobby. Like this is something that no one else is really doing.
yeah,
I got really into it really quick, and I tried to call it bumping mics, and Dave was like, no. I go, why? He's like, it's too on the nose. I go, well, that's good for a title. We don't have any other structure to our show. By the way, we don't rehearse. He has a flip phone. I can't even talk to him before the show. We don't have any plan whatsoever.
it's pretty stressful, Joe.
Why do you have a flip phone?
Why? I'm trying to stay off the grid, dude.
Yeah.
You saw me with the sword in front of the flag. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be activated. No, I'll tell you this. Bumping Mics is the best title for it. Jeff is really a good producer and all those different things, all the skill sets I don't have. Like he's a producer, he knows show business, all those different things. But like I was like, we should have like really like workshop some other names like two Costellos looking for an Abbott, or like Nichols and May I. But there's other teams out there. I'm not going to say there aren't, but the thing is that like we're not really a team. Like we both have our separate stuff, but when we get together, it's like this kind of like almost like like within 48 hours we're a team again. So it's really difficult. But I think we rock out in certain situations. Like I want to go through it with you because you've done every venue now. You've done outdoor, you've done theater, you've done casino. I think we are one of the best casino acts. I'll say it right now.
acts.
I think we really are.
Why?
I think in a casino, we take it to the level that needs to be, especially in a D-level casino. I'm talking like they're like hoping.
Pachanga.
Yeah, exactly. They're hoping for like like one of those electronic poker. Like that kind of. That's us.
Foxwoods.
Yeah, well, Foxwood, we do rock there.
Foxwoods. pretty
Dave
nice.
likes the casinos because, again,
smoke.
they let him smoke.
Yeah,
In
my
the
people.
elevator,
Those are my
everywhere.
people.
Right, that's true about casinos, right?
But it's also a very bawdy audience, and you can say anything, and you don't have to hold back at
Yeah.
all. And we
Jeff
love-
is
we love-
fearless. I have a filter up, but he is fearless. He really is.
Actually, Pachanga is that place in Temecula, right?
Yeah.
That place is actually nice. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of what's
We'll
that
play
one
it.
on the 5? What's that fucking place on the 5?
The Playboy one? or
Rudy
whatever?
Moreno used to. Oh, the Hustler Casino. That's
Yeah.
what.
That would be
We
great.
just did. We
You
just
should
did
do
one
that.
Bethlehem, PA. That's our best one, dude.
I love that.
Which one?
You know the one? It's an old steel mill, but now it's a casino in Bethlehem.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah,
Oh,
Lehigh, I
okay.
think it is Bethlehem.
We always have our best shows there for some.
Yeah, we really do. The
Pennsylvania,
crowd
they're
is
happy
so
you're
excited
fucking
to see
there,
us.
man. Those
That was our
weird,
first road show ever.
Wilkes-Barre,
Yeah.
those weird road gigs.
And the one we were going to cancel, but we never canceled in like Utah or something.
We did the Oklahoma run.
That one, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You guys did an Oklahoma run?
Yeah.
No,
well, I
he
did.
did.
I
I did
did
one.
one casino, and then I drove through like this crazy storm to the next one. Oklahoma, man, you can drive as fast as you want.
They don't give a fuck?
They don't care.
nothing
Montana
to hit.
didn't even have They didn't even have speed limits.
Isn't that cool?
They just had to impose speed limits within the last decade or two because of the federal government. They said, look, we're not going to fix your fucking roads unless you tell people they can't go 150 miles an hour.
I love it.
That's Montana, though. You know, Burr says that Oklahoma's fucking amazing.
Yeah, we
He
had a
said
good show
Tulsa
there.
was fantastic.
Yeah, I want to play there for sure. But I was playing the casinos, and then I met Jeff at this one. It's like right on the border of Texas, and Seinfeld plays there.
Thackerville.
Yeah, Seinfeld plays there,
Thackerville,
That's
Oklahoma.
the town it's in. Yeah.
and it was like a rough one of those
Seinfeld
rough
goes
weeks.
to Thackerville.
Yeah.
But
Really?
Yeah.
he's got it down to a science, man. You know, fly in, fly out, that kind of thing. You know, we're
Fly in
embedded.
that night.
We're
fly
embedded
out
there.
That night.
I don't
Yeah.
get. I guess if you have a nice life and a nice house, but I like going and looking around the local
Yeah.
places and
Yeah.
eating the local fare. I still kind of love that.
Well,
Well, he's in that weird place too, where I don't think he can go places.
yeah, that's true. He
If he's
can't really
walking on
hang
the street,
around.
you're like, "Holy shit, it's
It's mayhem.
Seinfeld." Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be weird.
Joe, that's what we do after the show because we're both a little older now. We really eat. That's what we do. We really like
love
enjoy
eating.
it. What's your like? Do you like steaks and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you should hang with us because
But
we
he
really
doesn't
go.
eat cow steaks. He eats
I eat
like
cow
weird,
steaks too.
He eats like
Elk and
like
stuff.
wolf steak and shit. He doesn't.
I would eat a
Like
wolf
Game of
steak.
Thrones
That's
stuff.
why he
If I
was
shot a
late. He
wolf,
was
I'd
giving
eat it.
kids their elk breakfast.
My kids eat elk. They really do.
Well, we'll eat
It's
it.
delicious. I wish I need to set up a kitchen here and cook for you guys.
Oh, that would be great.
It's fucking fantastic.
Kids
You
eat your
it.
elkios for breakfast.
Elk, yes. If you ate it, you'd want to get it more.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it taste like in the meat scale?
Like a bison, like
Yeah.
a little bit more unusual. Better than venison.
And how do you
better
cook
than
it?
like deer venison. Slowly on a pellet grill, and then I sear it on the outside at the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your Thanksgiving must be out of control, huh?
Well, this year, no. This year we just did the normal turkey thing. Put a turkey in a deep.
But he caught it with his own hands.
That's
On
true.
the roof of the studio.
We did the peanut oil thing where you deep fry it in peanut oil.
Oh.
Makes it better.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's like it's a scam.
How did
Turkey's
you
a
learn how to
scam.
do all
What
this
do you
stuff?
mean?
You like every time I meet you, have like 2 other skills. Like, how do you do this stuff? You're pretty busy.
I need things to occupy my brain. I just have one of those brains. The only way I'm at peace is if I have a bunch of difficult shit that I do all the time. I have to-
Constantly challenging yourself.
I have to. That's how
Wow.
my brain works. You know, everybody has their own weird kink. My kink is I need to be exhausted.
Wow.
Like just for your brain itself, it needs to be fed.
My brain's needs shit to do. It needs things to concentrate on. If I don't have things to concentrate on, or things that are really difficult, I start playing tricks on myself.
You mean mental or physical?
both mental and physical. Yeah,
You get like
So how do you-
depressed.
I have to have both.
How do you handle the time management with family and career and
Get up early.
touring? Yeah.
Get up early. So like this morning I was up at 6:30. Kids go to school. They're leaving the house by 7. I take the dog running. I'm gone for 2 hours. And then I come back, get a bunch of shit done at the house, then come over here.
Wow.
Then, hang out with you guys for a few hours. Then I'm going to lift. Then I'm going to go to the store and do a couple sets. Have a good time.
So that's like, you're doing like a 16-hour day there, right?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, the way it works really good with me with family is that most of the stuff I'm doing either while my kids are at school or while my kids are asleep. So by the time I leave, I have a 10 o'clock spot at the store. They're already asleep.
Right.
They go to bed at like 8:30.
How old are they now?
The youngest ones are 8 and 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they go to bed. They get up at like 6:30. They go to bed at like 8:30. So that's perfect time for me. Then
Yeah,
I'm
then you
leaving.
got your own.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When's the last time you just quit something in the middle? Was like, fuck it, I can't figure this out.
Like what?
A bit, a routine.
Sometimes bits you just gotta abandon them and come back to them in a couple of weeks or a couple months or a
Couple of years.
Sometimes, yeah.
Everybody has that one like great beginning of a bit, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Where does this go?" And then you
Yeah.
just keep throwing it out. That's the cool thing with Jeff is that like we both bring material up on stage, but at the end of the day, it's the stuff that just comes to us like that, in the moment stuff, especially with the audience. That's the stuff that I really think. We should give a shout out to Andrew, the director, for
course.
capturing all that. Jeff's friend, who is
Andrew
now
Jarecki.
one of the best directors out there, man. He really, once again, it was Jeff's choice, and he did the job and then some. I mean, it's so good the way he put it all together, you know.
And you guys have, it's more than just you guys going on stage. There's a bunch of other stuff happening.
There's a bunch of people who drop by.
It's a three episode series.
Oh, really?
Docu-series. So I don't know if you saw The Jinx on HBO about Robert Durst, the
No, I
alleged
never watched
murderer.
that.
It's a phenomenal documentary.
I heard.
My buddy Andrew Jarecki directed that. He also directed Capturing the Freedmans years ago. It was an Oscar-nominated documentary.
What was that about?
That was about a family of convicted, actually, child molester math science teachers in Long Island.
Oh,
Father,
I
son,
remember that.
based on a short that he did about a party clown whose family wound up being implicated in this crazy controversy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, that was him, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Andrew and I are tight, and Dave and I were sort of going back and forth on who could sort of direct us, who would know our moves but yet had the experience, and Dave doesn't like anybody that's too hip.
I like it straight
So I
ahead.
thought of Andrew.
I liked it straight ahead, and I also think some of these comedy specials are over directed. So I didn't want to fall into this whole instead of lighting the stage, you guys hold lanterns, like that kind of thing. You
Jesus
bump
Christ.
lanterns, and then we'll have like that
God.
kind of thing. That'll be the essence of the humor.
That could happen too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So,
Yeah.
but he really was cool, and he really was patient, and he really brought a lot of things outside of my wheelhouse. It's a collaboration, which is another thing you're not used to doing when you do your own special. You're like, hey, I want to do it this way. I've been doing it this way, and I want it that way. But when you have other voices in the room and other ideas, then you got to pretty much mesh it together into something that pretty much, I guess, captures the spirit of it, and also hopefully the funny of it.
Well, if you got that guy as your director, I mean, that's fucking incredible.
It looks cool, and he also understood our personalities and our friendship. Mm-hmm. I've been chasing Dave my whole career. I always, as an open micer, I would go watch Dave, or I always thought if no one's gonna make it in our crew until Dave makes it. Dave was always the one that everybody came to watch. Even when Ray Romano was popping on TV, he would go down to watch Dave Attell, riff. And, my first TV spot was a 7-hour train ride with Dave to Canada, when we were really young. And
I've heard 3 versions of this story, Joe.
What's the first version?
No, it's like Canada or Syracuse. I think.
No, it was It was
7 hours?
Hamilton, Canada, whatever. We took a train from New York.
Ontario?
Anyway, I'm just saying, Hamilton. It's called.
Isn't that in Ontario?
I guess so.
Isn't it?
But I'm just saying, Dave is my favorite comic.
Yeah, I didn't know that until we really started working together. I consider
weird you out when you're
I
hing out
consider
with
him contemporary.
Yeah, but does it weird you out? He's you're his favorite comic?
A little bit, to be honest, yeah. But no, I see Jeff as beyond unique. There's nobody like him, and what he does and what he is able to do is it's not only fun to watch, but it's really you're a self-starter. He's a self-starter. It's great to see self-starters who find success, because it really is difficult to take something and make it not only financially successful, but also something that we all respect and love, and that's I'd say the roasting thing that Jeff really pretty much has rebranded into every possible way you can do it is always good, because he's behind it.
It is interesting
when it's not really with him, then you're I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
There's other people who are really good at it too, but I'm just saying that that is when we're on the road and people will scream out the car door, it's the Roastmaster. I mean, I had my Insomniac time, but he 20, 30 times that in terms of recognition. I mean, it's just amazing.
It is weird that you're synonymous with roasts.
Yeah.
I mean, if people say roast, they think Jeff Ross.
I earned it because when people laughed at me and thought, oh, that's a dead art, it's a lost art, it's antiquated, it's corny, it's old guys, I stuck by it and said, no, it's alternative comedy. No one's doing it. I get to hang with legends like Buddy Hackett and Milton Berle, and I stuck to it because, and there was a while, there was a time where I was embarrassed, oh, I'm going to be pigeonholed as the roast guy.
Were you embarrassed?
I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but
uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you're well, I want to be more than that.
When was this around?
This was probably 10 years ago, and I was in Vegas. Chappelle again, words of wisdom. He's like, dude, that's your lane. Make that a 5-lane highway. and ride it. And that's kind of what I started doing, started really owning it and loving it. And to the credit of the world, as we became more pussies in the world, like roasting became more and more potent and important.
Yeah.
And the world needs to develop thick skin, and I think roasting honors people, and it's done with love, but it also kind of toughens us up a little bit. Well, I think it's of the time.
When I came back to the Comedy Store, first thing I came back to watch was Roast Battle.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really I'd heard, but I didn't really know where it was.
Right.
And
then I remember that night.
I remember that night really well. Because I remember thinking, holy shit, this is so mean.
No, you were
but so funny.
It is. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, you guys go deep.
But really good.
We were at the other club, the Improv. Sure. Thanks.
That's got tobacco, though.
I'll take a
little bit.
Really?
Yeah,
all right, I'll take a real
tobacco
small,
leaf.
The leaf I can deal with.
All right, deal with it.
How about...
It doesn't have any inside.
Is my company going to crumble because of this? Am I going to get audited by NASA?
It pumped him up. He went down, but then he went back up. Tesla went down, and then it went up.
Really?
Went down 6%, then it went up 9%.
The studio still smells a little musky.
But that night when I walked in there, I remember thinking, this is a joke writing thing. This isn't just as simple as...
the art of the insult.
Yeah, it's joke writing. And one of the things I love about Roast Battle is how Moses makes everybody hug at the end of it. It's very cool.
Well... I started judging it, and people were pushing each other and screaming at each other, and I wrote the rules of Roast Battle. Original material only, no physical contact.
Yeah, that's scary.
And every battle ends with a hug.
I've seen that with rap battles where guys punch each other in the face. Rap battles are like the way more mean version of Roast Battle. Like those fucking guys. I've seen some just horrible, horrible shit people say to each other.
And Moses, like, he owns that circus.
Yeah.
And you got to admire the fact that he can, week after week, make that work.
You know one of the reasons why it works? He's so likable. Like, Brian is such a nice guy.
The best.
He's such a good-hearted, sweet person. You know?
We were at the Improv that night. You hadn't been at the Comedy Store in years and years and years and years, and I don't know all the details, and it never really was part of my... And you were asking me about Roast Battle, or somebody started asking me about it in front of you, and I saw you getting curious, and you were getting more curious, and you were maybe a little homesick for the Comedy Store, who knows. And I said, come on, let's go, jump in my car. And you're like, I'll meet you there. And you sat up on the balcony where the judges sit, and you hadn't been in the belly room in 5 years maybe, who knows. And 7 years. And you're sitting there, and Moses does a double take, and he's too afraid. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't really know you. You haven't been back there. You haven't been in the store. And finally, I say, Comedy Store legend, back after a long time, say hi to Joe Rogan. Real low-key intro. And I've been in that room a lot for Roast Battle. I never heard anything like this place reverberated. Like I thought we were going to fall into the main room. And it was it. That was it. You've been back every day since.
Well, I had to go back, too, because Ari was filming his Comedy Central special there the next night. It's one of the reasons why I had to go to Roast Battle.
I love him. I really
love him. There's no way I was going to miss his special. I was like, I have to go there. I don't want to go there the night of his special. Let me just go there a day early.
Yeah.
So I went there a day early.
And you wound up judging Roast Battle on Comedy Central and doing all. You're part of your royalty over there.
That was when Earl Skakel came out shirtless with a fucking gold chain with a fur coat on. To this day, that was one of the greatest entrances I've ever seen anybody take on stage, and he fucking murdered too. I mean, he was on fire that night. On fire.
It's like the art of the insult. You might not be the strongest headlining act, but if you can put 5 jokes together, you can take somebody down.
But here's the question. Why is it that so many people excel at that, like especially young comics, but they can't seem to figure out a way to generate that kind of energy during a regular set?
It's different.
I think they don't get the stage time. I think that's really what it is.
There's a lot of that, for sure.
That this is their moment, so they throw all in. But can I say as an outsider, since I never was really a West Coast, comic like you guys, is that the Comedy Store from back in the day to before the roast battling to the roast battle, like an amazing difference. I remember walking in there and it was like a haunted house. You know, you're like, where is everybody? What's going on? Sam Kinison played here, you know, and then like, you know, you go on stage and it was like, you know, 12 tourists in the room and then a bunch of comics in the back. And then after the roast battle, like the energy, you could just see it just went out like through the roof of just like, it was the place to hang. And like, you know, it became like when you're in town, you want to go by the store and just check it out and like go on stage. And, you know, the crowds there became way better. And I think that you were part of that, of like really help re-energizing that club.
100%. That's what I felt. That's what I felt when I went back. I was like, this is a different place.
Even Lil Rel Howery said there's no other comedy competition where other comics come to watch.
Yeah, true, 100%.
And cheer on their friends or kind of roll their eyes at the ones that they don't want to win. And there's a fraternity there. I feel like comedians, and I feel like we're a cult in a weird way. Sometimes I feel like I'm a comedian before I'm even an American. Like, I meet comedians from all over the world, and I feel like I know them my whole life.
Yeah.
And Roast Battle is now international.
Yeah.
So
that's a great story.
It really is a movement like that, where it was sort of a corny thing that nobody really understood, the roasting. I couldn't even try out roast jokes when I first started. It was like so mean. If I would stand there with a piece of paper and read 10 William Shatner jokes, people would be like, oh, he's so mean.
You were doing that one night at the Improv. I'm trying to remember who you were practicing for. But people were like, oh. But the same people that would be at the roast, they'd be dying.
Right.
It's hard to put yourself in that roast mindset. Like when you go to see the roast mindset, it's like going to see a fight.
Yeah.
So if you went to see a fight and you knew you were going to go see a fight, you could handle the fact that a fight was going on.
Right.
But if you just show up at the movies and two people start head kicking each other, you're like, holy shit, what the fuck are you doing? Stop! It's like we can agree to horrific shit if we just know it's going to take place in advance.
I guess there's part of that. And it is a sport. Roasting
100%.
is a sport.
It's definitely a game because there's strategy involved. It's not just jokes. It's like you're trying to disarm someone's material towards you, maybe. Like sometimes guys will go at themselves first.
Right.
And then go at their opponent, like in the same joke.
Right.
But they're already sort of, it's very smart. People are being clever with it because they've been doing it for a few years now. So they've seen people bomb, they've seen people murder.
And there's strategies,
Fuck
like any
yeah.
other sport.
Yeah.
And you punch back, and you have your retort ready.
Yes.
And you know, there's all kinds of other little things, like, you know, maybe don't mention the obvious thing till the end, and then you're gonna.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to give too many secrets away, but the better roast battlers will study the game tape, if you will, and figure all this stuff out. And you know, 5 jokes. I mean, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
If you trip or stumble, can you recover?
Tony Hinchcliffe's a goddamn assassin at that shit.
Yeah.
The best.
That motherfucker. He's an assassin at roasts. He's got an evil little black spot in his heart that he likes to open up whenever those roasts come out. Woo! Those jokes are vicious and clean and tight.
But I've
And he works at
generationally.
it doesn't. It's
No,
not
he works
something we
hard.
do off the top of our head. I mean, if you can do that also.
Yep.
But Tony takes it seriously, and it's like I say, it's an art.
Yes.
That's also the skill of joke writing, which is like in today's world of more storytelling and all that kind of stuff. That it's few and far between where you actually see like someone who could put together a couple of jokes in a row, and you're like, wow, that was a great run. You know,
Yeah,
like everybody
yeah.
has one good joke and then like, you know, maybe a couple of tags, but like to actually have a great run. You know, that's the thing that always excites me about comedy. And when he'll tell you, like, when we work together, he'll go, what new stuff do you have? And, like, we'll just throw it up there. And, like, I'll try and, you know, basically work it out on stage. Because I know it's not, like, one of my own bits, like a formed bit yet. It's, like, something that I can work with him. And that's fun, too. That also, like, opens your mind to a whole other world of, like, joke writing, you know?
Sure, especially you're doing it right next to another comic.
That's
Yeah.
how we start.
I mean,
we
that's
wrote.
amazing.
It's difficult.
We always start by talking about each other. Dave looks like an umpire during a rain delay.
I'm actually wearing the same stuff right now on the special. So Jeff mixes it up a bit.
Well, this
it's
is
easier
a-
for me.
Dave, that outfit makes a statement.
What
That's
is
a
it?
very clear David Attell outfit.
This is it, man.
Low key.
Makes a statement.
Flip phone.
What is it?
I know how to delete a hard drive.
I do. I do creep it up.
Why do you have you still didn't answer about the flip phone. Why do you have a flip phone?
Well, I like the flip phone. Like, you don't get distracted with the web because it takes forever to get the web on there. But it's just, I don't know. I don't really like technology. I don't like the web. I feel like, you know, there's something about the virtual experience and the live experience that, like, we're really in that world now of, like, coming to see someone live is getting harder and harder. But, like, they'll know all your clips on YouTube, you know. So, I don't know.
But don't you think more people are going to see people live than ever before?
Well, Joe, not me.
I think if there's any reason for that at all, it's definitely not your act, because
it's got to be content.
Brilliant. No, it's your lack of connection with the internet.
Yeah.
I think if you were connected more with the internet, more people would be going to see you.
I'm not a good promoter. I know
100% believe that. I 100% believe that, because you're. It's hard to talk complimentary about someone when they're right in front of you. You're brilliant as a joke writer. You're one of the most prolific I know.
Thanks,
one of the most clever that I know. But you're also you have less ego than anyone I've ever met in my life. You're like some weird fucking Tibetan monk dude that's been sitting up in some cave somewhere. I mean, you're one of the best comics ever, in my opinion.
Wow.
And you're so low key. It freaks people out sometimes.
I'm all about I really love the hang, like he was saying, like the cult of the comics, like us hanging, and like coming from you, dude, that's like extra special. So
Dave
thank
doesn't
you.
even like to get recognized.
I hate it. Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff.
That's
but
why I think there's a correlation. You have
it's
more
my own
bandwidth. No, but you also have more bandwidth for what you're doing. Your stand up. You're looking at it's a good mixture, because like you've obviously been really successful with like staying in this groove, particularly after you stop drinking and everything too.
Yeah.
You're in this tight groove.
I'm present. That's what I can say. But
dude, your set at the Improv that I saw was about like 6 months. We were at the Improv together, something like that. 5 or 6 months. God damn, that was funny shit. Really fun.
You know, it's funny, like when you talk about I love. There's no harder fan now than your fans. I mean, like, they know comedy, they know a lot of things, and they totally respect the art form and like the craft of it. And that's thanks to you. And you're out there doing it. It's not like, you know, it's like back in the day I was a comic. You're out there every night doing it. You go on the road. So it's like you're talking from now, not from like the past. And you get it how like I feel like the web stuff helps and hurts comedy to some degree, but it probably helps more than I'm giving it credit, because it really did connect to people. It really did connect with more people, you know?
I don't think it helps or hurts. I think there's always been shit comedy, and there's always been people that are doing really well. And there's always been inspiring people, and there's always been thieves. There's always been all the bad things that exist now. But what now it's like there way more people can find you, and those people, it does translate into clubs,
right,
and seats. They do want to come out. And the thing about the show, the reason why this works is because we can all talk about it in a way that a person who doesn't do it can still understand it.
True.
Like, then go, oh, these guys is like, this is what, you know, you could be into whatever the fuck it is, rebuilding muscle cars, playing chess, whatever the fuck it is that you're into. When people get really into something, there's a very similar thing that happens. You get together with other people that are also really into it and really good at it, and you go, well, I'm always asking, like, do you write it out?
Right.
Like, what do you do? Do you just work it out on stage?
Right.
How much time do you spend alone with the bit, and how much do you just, because a lot of guys don't like to do anything outside of write little tiny bullet points and then let it all express itself naturally on stage. Some of the best guys ever.
Right.
So it's hard to say what's right or what's wrong.
There's a lot of work to comedy that people don't get, which is the writing, but it's also the listening to yourself, like taping and listening.
Yeah.
That's the thing I have been doing. I have not been doing lately. We worked on this thing. I'm working on other stuff. And it's like, that is the thing where when I go back and go, like, you know, when I was really hardcore into like, you know, material, turning an hour, that was the thing where it's like, you almost have to, like you told me, you have that tank. That's where, like, go in there with your act, like, especially like a hard show on a Friday, like late show, and like listen to it. That to me is like a form of torture, to hear like all the bits that don't work.
Late shows on Friday, right?
I disagree. We've had
He's very optimistic. I'm very pessimistic.
You're optimistic.
We always
he really is like super optimistic.
I love Friday late shows.
He pretty much loves everything.
I like the active audience. It fuels me. I feel like a lion tamer up there. And when Dave's beside me, I'm indestructible.
It's probably a really good kind of show for people that don't want to be quiet too.
Yeah.
They want to yell out.
Yeah.
Get rowdy.
We drag people on stage. We dice
sure.
them
We
up.
go into the crowd. We do all those different things that, like, you know, I'll say it. There's a lot of things that we do are like old school comedy in terms of like old school hockey. Like, it's just no longer done. It's like, you could say it might be a little cheesy, a little this, a little that, but at the end of the day, it's just inappropriate, fun, silly. Like, move to the next bit. Like, remember we were looking in the edit, and I go, hey, I got to tell you, there's like 100 punchlines in this thing. Yeah. So even if, like, you know, the law of averages, like, you know, turtles swimming into the ocean, if only like 7 are great, that's still a lot for a Netflix special. I mean, honestly.
By the way,
I'm not patting ourselves on the back, but I am. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Our show is, the episodes are 3 episodes. It's Friday. Well, the first one's called Friday. There's Saturday and Sunday. They're 3 nights.
Oh, wow.
And I love that Friday crowd. And we had like Nikki Glaser, Amy Schumer, Rachel Feinstein, Michelle Wolf.
You talk about all the people that showed, because we really, like, Jeff called in these like amazing people showed
saying
up.
Gilbert was hilarious.
He completed us. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he was the third piece of this, like, ancient, like, scroll. Like, once we found that, I was like, where has he been? Gilbert is the thing. Because both of us, like, yeah, that is the best one. That's
Gilbert
the episode 2.
us.
Gilbert's a savage.
Yeah, I mean, he's...
What do you think of Gilbert? Like, like, your kids or whatever. Now, I'm trying to think of, like, if you were, like, 16 years old, what would you think of Gil? Like, he's so out of their like wheelhouse in terms of like, what is that? I mean, I think he's classic. I think he's like,
I think I probably would have liked him. I think I probably would have thought he was really funny when I was 16. But when I was 16, I was really getting into stand-up.
Yeah.
Oh.
My parents took me to see Live in the Sunset Strip when I was 14, I guess. It was out in the movie theater.
Well, when I first discovered Gilbert, he was like on the MTV Awards imitating Dice. So to me, he was like not the hero comic. He was the guy that made fun of the hero comic.
Right.
He had the, you know,
But he was always like, people would talk about him in interviews. It was always like revered by other comedians. You know, he's a guy that's always been like, he's a wild man, like a legit wild man.
He murdered on our show. Like
standing O. We got a standing O.
So like,
sure.
we have like friends from our life in the audience. My aunt and his family, and like Bruce Willis is there, and he does a bit with us. But I had my friend Craig Moss from high school is in the audience with his wife and kids, you know. And Dave like starts walking around the Village Underground looking for my guest list. Craig Moss, where's Craig Moss? So finally, like, Dave starts goofing on this guy who's just in the audience, and
it was a long
I jump
walk
in and go, and I jump in and go, oh, you know, Craig, when my parents died, Craig was my best friend in a new town. He was, you know, so I'm explaining to the audience and Dave who this guy is and how much he did for me as a young man. And then Gilbert jumps up out of the audience and just screams, doesn't even need a microphone. He's like, when my parents were alive, Craig came over and killed them. He just has perfect timing. He
does, yeah.
He's just, his delivery.
He's an animal.
No filter
None.
with him. And that's the beauty of him. Like, you know, I'm always like, I don't know how they're going to take. He's like, boom, that's it.
I think
I'm going to
kids
say it
would love
even.
him.
I'm going to say it 3 times. You know.
Yeah.
The kids who love comedy would love him. You know. When I was 16, I mean, I would listen to everything.
I always like a mix of like different types of comics. Like that episode, Bob Saget and Hassan Minhaj are the other guests. And
that's right.
At one point, we're all up there together, and these are guys who might not even know each other in real life, but the comedy kind of brings it together.
That's awesome, man.
It's like a party mixed with a roast, mixed with a. I don't even know, Dave.
No, it's really cool because Jeff's family, like wherever we would go on the road, Jeff's family, you know, it'd be like, can I get your comps? Because I've got like 3 third cousins here. I didn't know there were Jews in Oklahoma, but evidently there were, like 5 distinct, 23andMe people out there for me. And I was like, it was funny to see because I'm really a lone wolf. Like I'm on the road alone. I go out there, I do my thing. And Jeff really does he's very inclusive with his family. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Like, they're all invited,
right.
Come hang out in the green room and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. And he brought that on stage, like with your aunt. I thought that was like one of the best moments of the whole show,
We bring up my aunt. The first episode is my aunt, Bruce Willis, Michelle Wolf, Amy Schumer, Nikki Glaser, Rachel Feinstein. So it's like a weird mix of. But you know what? For all, just to say one more thing about Dave and the flip phone and like how the process works. Dave is also the most, like you say, present, but also informed Like, he knows all the references. He knows what's going on in the world. So he's not like he's living in a caveman under the ground.
No, I keep my eye out there.
So what do? Do you read newspapers?
I have a raven sent me the most important news from Westeros.
He's in the back. He's in the back reading and like really like getting in touch with the world and the audience. And he's the first one to say, "Oh, we're in Vegas. Let's talk about this that's going on in Vegas. Let's talk about that that's going on in Vegas." You know, he'll say it on stage to me. Like, he'll bring up all this relevant stuff. Where like, I'm the son of a caterer. I'm more about this live experience. Who's in the audience? Who's here?
I like keeping it to like. That's that show. And I think you agree with it. It's like, you'll agree with it too. It's like, each show is its own thing, right? So it's like, the fact that it's always like some guy taping in the back, you're like, dude, why are you doing that? Because this is your experience right now. And like Stanhope, who is my favorite comic, Doug Stanhope, is like, he was the first guy that like, we both talked about like this whole thing of like, why do people think that like, capturing this show is like important, and like, they're also disposable. It's like beautiful, like fireworks, it's like, it's never gonna happen again like that, so you might as well just like soak it all in instead of trying to capture it. And I think when we talk about like topical stuff, I do that for like as a joke writing thing, but also as a like keeping the act alive, because I feel like my job in this team is to push it forward. Like, it's like, okay, Jeff, what else is happening? Like, to keep moving it. Otherwise, we can always get into a loop of like, just putting each other down or like working the crowd. So I like to move it forward, and I think that the cool thing about that is that like it does move forward to an end.
When people are making those videos, they're not making those videos to look back on them. They're making those videos so that other people could see it.
Right.
That's the difference between today and the past.
Are you for that? Are you or against it?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm neither. I think your personal experience is going to be better if you just watch it.
Okay.
But I'm not you. Maybe you just get more of a jolly off of filming a clip and putting that clip on Facebook and it getting 1 million downloads.
Yeah.
I just know that like when I go to a place and I'm working on new material, I want it to be figured out and then put it on the way I want it. But 100%. I totally understand what you're saying, which is like like it's an open world now, and it's just like the idea of controlling is like an antiquated idea. But I think that for me at least as the joke writer, it's like I just want it to where it's going to be, and then get it out.
I totally understand, and I completely agree. I think if we established an etiquette. And most comedy clubs say you can't film. And there's a reason for that.
That's great.
It's just, I don't know what, like, I have a bit right now that I'm working on, and I've only done it twice. And it's all over the fucking place. And if I somehow or another released it, like if I had to do a Netflix special tomorrow and I had to do that bit, I'd be fucked. I'd be like, what is this? This malformed, gelatinous, preposterous
you're working
form
on
of a joke. Yeah, but I know for a fact that 6 months from now, there's fruit in this. I know the subject there's something to it.
Yeah.
I just have to figure out what that something is, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to be a lot of missteps. And there's just no way around it. And so the only way for us to do this is like, if you are a musician, I'm sure it feels awesome to practice in front of a crowd, but you can practice at home. Like, you can actually get the band together and play the whole song. Right. We can't do that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because people always bring music as like, it's kind of like music. I'm like, it's kind of not like music.
Need the audience.
It's not like music at all. If anything, I really, talk about like self-hate. For a long time, I'm like, how come like my bits don't rock like within 6 months? And I'm like, then I started like directors and writers and whatever stuff. Everybody has first drafts. Everybody has it. And like the best people have multiple drafts. And it's the same thing with a joke, where it's like it'll work and then it won't work, and then you'll change a line and then it'll work better and then won't. And you're feeling it out. You're feeling out the bit. You in your head are filling in the holes that you only can see because you're the creator. And I love that process, but it also is terrifying. It really is. Like, where is it going to go? But basically saying, okay, that's finished now because it got like a little laugh. You're like, I'm not satisfied. There's something more to this.
Yeah, but you have a real issue with this, because Dave will get a joke, and
yes.
Sure, he's the creator and he knows where the holes
and
of his own material are.
Go ahead.
But no one is more connected to him than me watching the process, especially when we're like
he's right
on tour and doing like, a week of shows. We know each other's moves and we see how it develops. He'll finally get a joke, not where it's killing, where it's like a showstopper. Like killing. Like, what do we do now? Where I run around a circle, like the joke's hitting so hard that we have to do something while they're laughing. Take a sip, or sometimes we'll just like roll around on the floor.
And I'll destroy it.
And then the next night, I'll go, Dave, what's your workout routine? Like, I'll give him a softball layup to go like close the show with this joke, and he'll look at me like I'm speaking another language.
Because I'm already
he'll just be like in his eyes, "Fuck you, Jeff. I'm not repeating myself night to night." And he'll deconstruct and completely rearrange the same joke.
I will turn that funny into like a boring couch. I'll key that joke into a snooze fest.
But isn't that also the mindset that keeps you present while you're doing the bit?
Yep.
It keeps him present. It keeps me aggravated.
It's like I really am letting down the team there. It's like feed me. And I'm like, no. But I think that's the cool of it. I also like have a problem with if a joke works continuously somewhere. I'm like, there's something wrong with it. It's hacked.
Yeah, but then we go.
I know it's wrong.
We shoot a Netflix special, and you're not using your A material.
No, I am, dude. I had to. I think of the jokes as children. I gave up a lot of my, my firstborn there.
Yeah, the ugly ones.
That's not true. It's my pharmacist joke, my homeless joke.
It's because you're like, it's so important to have that mindset to be a great club comic, right? Because every show has to be its own thing. Mm-hmm. That keeps you like you restart for every show.
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody go over and over and over the same thing every year. You see them. It's terrible.
That's sad.
Well,
because it could be so much better. That's what you like as a person who's a comic. You understand what they're doing. They just don't want to take any chances. But as a person who's, also, how good it feels to write something new and eventually get it to the point where you could say it.
Gilbert live is hilarious, right? So but for years, he's gotten out of it now, but for years he wouldn't update his material. And I took him, my sister and my brother-in-law and John Stamos, we all went to see him at Caroline's one night. And Gilbert's up there, this is 3 years ago, doing Callista Flockhart's Too Skinny jokes.
No.
He's not even updated. And we're just dying. And by the way, Stamos is criticizing him. He's whispering in my ear, I heard that 5 years ago. I heard that 10 years. I go, you're on Broadway doing Chicago. What are you talking about? You're doing a 30, 40, 50-year-old play. What are you talking about? But so I defended Gilbert, true. But I did talk to Gilbert and Dara, and Gilbert, you're too funny to not evolve. You're first hitting your prime as a comedian, and now, to his credit, he's on another level. He's just...
That's great, though, that you inspired him to start writing again.
I embarrassed him to start writing again.
That's fucking great.
But when he's with us, when that thing I said to Jeff, I go, if we ever tour again, we have to bring him on some of these gigs, because he really does, he was the third element of this whatever chemistry of the thing that really did, for me at least. I always knew that if it wasn't going anything with me and Jeff, and that's the truth of it too, and people will see that in the show, that there's a couple of bits that go nowhere, but we left them in to show people that it's real and all that kind of stuff. But
what about Norm? Did you guys do anything with Norm?
I wish we could do something with Norm.
He's got a thing on Netflix.
Yeah, but he was in LA. We were in New York, and
he's another dude.
He's so funny.
God damn, he's good.
I wish he would.
Norm, there's nobody like him as a stand-up.
I'm not saying we will, but if we ever do this again, this Bumping Mics Day, we should get Norm.
Did you see his tweets, his Thanksgiving tweets?
No. Once again, on my flip phone.
I'm about Friends. I retweeted it. He's just so ridiculous, man. He's so funny. There's
something about Norm's just his ability to, I have this thing about timing. I don't know what you think about it, but it's there's something about the timing that I know in today's world that people don't care about that. It's more about identity and all that stuff. But Norm is a master of timing. He really is a master of timing, and this whole thing that he's trying to do where he's finding these classic jokes. I love that.
No, he's genius. He's one of the
best.
There
is no one like him.
My first road gig ever was opening for Norm.
Really?
Yeah, it was
your
probably
first road gig ever.
1991, maybe.
Amazing.
At Catch Princeton. Somehow I talked my way into an MC spot, and Rich Voss was the middle, and Norm was the headliner.
Love Rich.
And Norm was only famous for doing a few late night shows. Whatever wasn't Letterman at the time. What was the other one? Was it Thicker Than Night or something? Or
Bob Costas?
No, it was.
Remember, he had Later with Bob Costas.
It wasn't as cool as that even.
Bill Boggs.
It was some.
I'm gonna keep you. Yeah.
It was some show you'll remember in a few minutes, and you go, "Oh yeah, it was some late night show, syndicated, whatever it was." But and I meet Norm, and he's catch Princeton when he'd do 45 minutes every show. He either destroyed or he got 0 laughs for 45 minutes. And whenever he got 0 laughs, he would stand by the door and say goodbye to people as they left.
Oh, that's great.
And if he killed, he would go back up to the room with Voss and we would play poker. Like he was
hilarious.
so anti. And then while we were there, he got booked on Letterman for the first time, and I had a Jeep. My sister bought me a Jeep with the money she got from a car accident, and I drove Norm. The best. Hi, Robin. And I drove Norm to his Letterman taping, his first Letterman.
That's incredible.
It was cool. I learned a lot that week.
What a great guy to have as the first guy you opened for.
It was so funny.
That's amazing.
Todd Barry was so obsessed with Norm, he came out and slept in my bed.
First guy I ever opened for was a guy named Warren McDonald. It was a really funny, like old school veteran Boston comic. But the second guy I opened for was Lenny Clark.
Yeah.
And Lenny Clark gave me advice that was totally contrary to his brother's advice.
What he said?
His brother, Mike Clark, who's the best, nicest guy in the world.
I love Mike.
He runs Giggles, and he's fucking awesome. Mike booked me back when nobody would book me, when I was just starting out. But when I opened for Lenny, he goes, kid, you're funny, but you're too fucking dirty.
He said that?
Yeah, he just told me like
for Boston.
He was like, you got to clean your act up. And then Lenny Clark came off stage. He goes, whatever you do, don't clean your act up. Don't listen to him, kid.
Wow.
He gave me great advice.
That's strong.
Yeah.
I love those two guys.
The nicest. They're so Boston too.
When I went to BU,
Boston to the core.
And when I was preparing I did a roast of the Boston cops, and Mike really helped me like warm up. Got me a bunch of local gigs in the Boston flavor.
Oh, beautiful.
For the Irish people, the Italian people.
It's a good place to do comedy, man.
That is definitely, of the two towns I'm thinking right now, Boston and Philly are the two towns that have changed dramatically, comedically, and also just in terms of like when you walk around in Boston now, you're not like, hey, I'm going to get jumped. Because I'm wearing a Yankee. If anything, it's like, everybody here is so like metro, and, someone's going to invite me to like a poetry reading at a wine, bar or something like that. It's very metro, and the comedy there is still good, but it's funny that old Boston was such a challenge. It really was, like, especially outsiders.
Knicks. What year did you start going to Knicks?
In their 90s, and every time I dreaded it. Yeah, they really were.
Times.
They were battles every time.
And they had local headliners that could
destroy you.
The greatest comics ever off stage.
It was definitely one of those things you were terrified, where you would hear just like, hey, you know what? I don't know what to tell you, but Gavin might come down. You're like, okay. He just wants to do a few minutes.
Yeah. They would go on stage just to fuck with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You had to earn it.
Yeah.
And I didn't earn it every time.
Back then. I don't know if it's still like that for people starting out, but comics were mean.
But that was their town, and they saw you coming into their town, and they were like, you better prove it. It's like before Step Up Revolution, you had to own it.
I never hold grudges. I don't know why. People who were douchey to me in the beginning, I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't ready for your respect. I'll learn it eventually. And then
Good
I
for
meet
you,
them
man.
and I don't hold grudges.
That's a great attitude.
Buddy Hackett said that to me once. He said, when you're holding a grudge, the other guy's out dancing.
Wow.
That's a great piece of advice.
Wasted energy.
That was a horrible Hackett,
What was going on back then? What was going on back then was a famine mentality, and I don't think we have that anymore. I think that famine mentality's gone because now everybody realizes that with the internet, there's literally an unlimited amount of viewers and people that can come to your gigs. It's way more beneficial for them to know that, like, if you're talking about someone that's really good, for them to know you have good taste. Like, if Dave says, oh, you got to see Jeff Ross, is a fucking hilarious comedian, and I go, well, I love Dave, so he must be right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's the podcast world.
Yes, and this is
podcast.
And this is the not having a famine mentality. That's the thing that fucked us back in the early days. Like, in Boston, it was before my time, because when I came along, they had already started, like, Stephen Wright had been on was he on Letterman? And then, like, Jay Leno had already taken off, and he was on Letterman all the time. Those guys had already, like, broken through to TV. But there was this sense that some of them had that, like, where's mine? Like, how come I didn't
Absolutely,
get it?
yeah.
Because there was only
absolutely.
a tiny amount of slots. It's not like Stephen Wright couldn't go on Letterman and say, hey, you think I'm funny, you got to see this guy, Lenny Clark, or you got to see this guy, Don Gavin, or you got to see Steve Sweeney. All these murderers that he came up with, and they were all like, where's mine? Like, what the fuck?
You just like in
Too
my
many
head.
spots. Too few spots.
Well, but also like we're of the generation, and not to make this like a whole like trip to the Museum of Comedy, but we're of the generation where we actually saw people who crush a room. Like today, everyone's like, "Oh, you killed it, you crushed it." But like seeing Richard Jeni at his height,
Yes.
like
Thank
at
you.
Caroline's or something like that, crush that room. People leaving exhausted, where it's like 2 hours in, you're like, "Oh, he hasn't even hit this thing yet." And he's like, he'll get off the stage. He's like, what did you think of that tag? I'm like, which one? I'm like, dude, you like threw out like a million jokes up there. I would watch that and be like, oh my God, that's like terrifying to see. It was like watching a wave come at you. And it was like what people consider now killing a room or crushing a room. Like I never got to see Sam Kinison or any of those people live, but I assume that was the same thing of where people could not breathe. They leave the room like just going like, oh man, I'm just like, exhausted.
I got to see Kinison, but I didn't get to see him until after he had released his HBO special. And after he released his HBO special, all that material was gone. Like, what I would have wanted to see was that, because that was like a culmination of 10 years of doing stand-up.
Right.
And then, boom, he does that HBO special, and it's just a murderous nuclear missile. But I saw him after that.
So what year was that he did the HBO? Because I wonder what year when I saw him.
I think it was either 85 or 86. I think it was 86.
So if I saw him at Rascals at a sold-out show and I was in college and I knew how funny he was probably already famous.
Damn, but was he at Rascals? Wouldn't he be doing a bigger venue by then?
I guess you're right. I
he
remember
did-
it felt like a special event.
I saw him at theaters. I saw him at a couple of big places. I saw him at one place down the Cape. It was, I want to say it was like, if I had to guess today, I would say it's somewhere around 2,000 seats.
Oh, really?
And I saw him at Great Woods, which is considerably
Right.
larger than that. And
Right.
that's right after his HBO special.
And this is 80.
This is 86, 87.
Wow.
It's
I
like,
used to work at Great Woods. in
did you?
college.
Shut the fuck up.
I worked for WBUR, the public radio station, and I would record classic music concerts as an engineer.
That's hilarious. Dude,
Great Woods. They called it Tanglewood or something.
What'd they call it?
Great Woods, yeah.
Yeah, well, Great Woods in Mansfield.
Yeah.
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 I was a security guard there.
Wouldn't that have been weird if we knew each other?
That's hilarious.
This is better than LinkedIn. How did you guys?
Man. I was the reluctant security guard because I would always bring a hoodie with me,
Yeah.
and if shit went down, I'd cover up my security jacket and get the fuck out of
Wow.
Oh, I
Dodge.
thought you'd throw in.
I brought a hoodie with me after like my first couple of days on the job. The first day on the job, there's a dude named Alley Cat. He was the dude who ran the security. They caught some drunk kid who stole a golf cart, so they chased him down, tackled him, and he was beating him in the face with a walkie-talkie. That was day one.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, all righty, it's one of these jobs.
All
One
right.
of these jobs. And it was, and I'm not a big person. I'm 5'8".
You're
so
still
I'm
like
not-
that now, outside the fight looking in.
yes, exactly, right? And back then I was competing, so I was only like 160 pounds. I was really light, and I was not getting in any tangles with some big giant drunk dudes. I'm like,
Right.
fuck, for what, $20 an hour or whatever
Right.
I'm getting? So I would just bring a hoodie with me. And when shit went down, I would zip up, and one day shit went down.
Wow.
The Neil Young concert. And they
What?
Wow.
During the Neil Young concert, the back area is all grass, and they started bonfires. These fucking crazy Neil Young fans
Wow.
threw a bunch of shit on the ground, just started fires. And then they started trying to break up these fires, and people were pushing security guards. And then my friend Larry, who's like the nicest guy in the world, punched this guy in the stomach. And I'm like, okay, that's it. If Larry's punching people, like, he's the nicest guy ever. Like, these people are drunk and crazy. Dude, I put the fucking hoodie on, whoop, and I'm out. I just walked straight to my car and drove the fuck home. I didn't get my
Really?
last paycheck, nothing. I'm like, I'm out. It was
Wow.
a full-blown riot. Dudes were throwing down and piles of people beating the shit out of each other. There was fires. They canceled the concert. They shut the concert in the middle of what's happening.
For Neil, who was the opener?
I don't think that was the problem. There was two problems. Sometimes when you were in the back area where the grass was, the acoustics weren't so good. So like when people went to see comics, it was bad. It's not good. Like maybe
Yeah.
they fixed the sound, but back then it was a big issue. You had to
Wow.
be inside the canopy to hear what the fuck was going on.
What do you think of oddball
Neil
and like
Young.
outdoor comedy? What do you think of that?
I've done some outdoor things. I did a big outdoor place in Kansas City this year, and it was really fun. It was
really?
fucking awesome. Yeah, but it was a summer night. It was beautiful. We got lucky with the rain. There was no rain or anything.
When Jeff and I did the oddball, like we went on together, that was my most fun doing the oddball thing. And I always thought it was a great, like, Jeff Wells is super cool to comics and everything
Yeah,
like that.
I love
But
Jeff.
like the only guy I've ever seen like actually look like he's having a great time was Chappelle doing it. Like I really like, he's like so comfortable everywhere, but like in the outdoor venue, he's like taking his time. And
He makes it like a club.
yeah, like I, it's just amazing to watch him do it. But the outdoor thing with the can never hear,
Yes.
like the joke going off into outer space,
Yeah.
that definitely is something that even the theater in the round, which is one I saw Rodney Dangerfield in when I was like 17, and that was another situation where this guy's just like crushing, and the room cannot breathe, that kind of thing. And I was like, this is in the round, I was like, wow, that's weird. I was 17. I was like, wow, is this how it goes? Like, why is he circling around like that? Is that part of it? I didn't understand that it was in the round, but now I realize that that's another like really hard venue to play is the round,
Yeah, I've only done a few of those. I did the that place in Phoenix. That one's in the round, the Hollywood Theater. That's a great spot.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I
I
think
played
Louis
that.
did one of his HBO
That's right.
specials there.
And because George Carlin did one, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
He did so many of them. That guy did them everywhere. I mean,
Every year.
that is bananas. That's one of the craziest paces ever. And you talk about someone who did it totally differently. He would basically write a monologue. He
Yeah.
would write, just take his time.
Not working at all. Not working out.
Kind of tighten it up on stage, they would say. As
Right.
time, the bits, as you would just keep doing them and figure out a better way to do them. But
So he'd
basically,
write
he
it
would
out
write
first?
write the whole thing
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
Yeah, and he did it every year.
Wow. It
That was
worked.
like at the
Yeah.
height of that HBO comedy thing. You'd like tune in specific just to see the special.
Well, he was in a different place than anybody else because of how prolific he was. And some would say like, yeah, but some of it wasn't my favorite stuff. And like, listen, it is impossible to write an hour every fucking year and have it your best version of that hour. You need more time. A lot of the times.
But he had to honor that commitment of getting the special out.
Right, but what he did was he did something that was slightly different than comedy either, because it was like a lot of it was like a state of the union, a state of
Yes.
like civilization, a state. It wasn't just comedy. It's like here's a really
Philosophy.
wise old guy
He was
who's
super smart.
mocking shit, but he has some really good points, and he's going to do this every year. So it was more. It was different. It was more that it wasn't like he never worked out in clubs. Like I went to see him once, and he had this whole bit about fuck everything. It was like basically fuck this and fuck that, and in part of it was comedy clubs. He's like, they say, George, you got to work out your shit in comedy clubs. He goes, fuck comedy clubs.
Really?
Everyone went crazy. Then I saw him years later at the store. I mean, he was just fucking around. But
That's when I knew I'd made it. I was like at the Improv back in the day, and I was probably going on at 2 a.m. and I still have it. There was a schedule that had George Carlin going on at like 9:30. So like 5 hours later, I went on at a prom show or something. But Carlin came into the Improv.
I got to say hi to him in the back patio of the store. Just hi. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Wow. Yeah. I was like, wow.
I saw him at the Aspen Comedy
He didn't
Festival.
hang with comics. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, no, he definitely.
He wasn't into hanging with comics necessarily, right? I remember once, like he kind of like dissed the Friars Club. He's like, I don't want to hang with the older guys. I want to. It was weird.
I saw him at
I
the
don't
Aspen
know.
Comedy Festival,
I
and he
don't
was
know.
like not doing anything. Like he had like substance stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
and it was like he was treating himself to one glass of wine a day. But you know how like up to the brim, like it's one of those where it's like, up to the brim, and you see him like sipping on it,
Yeah.
like, and he's looking at me like, like he's like, oh, he's a new comic. He's a big, I'm like, hello, Mr. Carlin, and he's like, and back to the sipping on this one glass of wine a day. I love that.
Well, he got injured, right, and had a pain pill problem.
Oh, did he?
So many fucking people, man.
He was a
many people have
hardcore,
gone down from
70s
that.
guy too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did a lot of that back in the day, but I think the pain pills was later on in his life, and he just had reached a point where he realized I've got an issue. I got to stop this. And
But
then
he
sorted it out.
I respect that he really committed to his craft. Like,
Oh yeah, man.
and maybe he was trying to do other stuff here and there because
he did a few acting things, but that was not his thing.
yeah, his thing was those HBO specials every year.
Yep.
And no one else was doing
The
that
quicker
back
you
then.
figure out what your thing is, lucky. It's
Yeah, the
such a
happier
lucky
you'll be.
thing.
Yeah. Well, his thing was always having a brilliant social point with humor attached to it. That was his thing. Like some of his best bits were just like really good points about hypocrisy and the ridiculousness of our civilization with like really good punchlines.
He would write to his subject.
Yeah.
Chris Rock does that too.
He also
Right
with
to
religion, he was like the first guy to really like, him and Bill Hicks, I always thought were like, that was so cool, their takes on religion,
Yeah. Well, Lenny Bruce obviously opened that door.
Oh, that's true.
He was the guy that opened the door.
He was a pain in the ass.
They
That's
all,
what Hackett used to tell me.
About Lenny Bruce?
Lenny was just a pain in the ass that got everybody in trouble all the time. There'd be cops at the comedy clubs and shit.
You can't be that guy unless you're a pain in the ass. I mean, he was arrested multiple times
Do we have that
saying
now?
bad words. A guy like him?
Yeah.
I think
I don't think we need a guy like him in a sense.
The crowd is the
he would have
crowd
been a
is the
different
filter.
guy if he lived today.
Right.
I mean, if he was alive today, he would just be a great comic. He wouldn't have to do all the shit that he had to do. Like it's hard for us to, whenever you go back and listen to stuff like Lenny Bruce, it's really almost impossible unless you live through it
That
to
time,
put yourself in that time.
you have to put it. That's why.
Like I can kind of put myself back in the 80s. I can kind of remember vaguely. I have a sense of what it was like.
Sure.
I can kind of tell you. I don't have a goddamn clue as to what it was like in the 60s.
Yeah.
And so when he was doing this, we have to put it in context that there was no freedom. You
Right.
couldn't say certain words. You couldn't talk
It's kinda
about
like
certain
that now.
subjects.
Yeah.
I mean, really crazy restrictions on the way people talked, and they brought him into court over and over and over again. Essentially, bankrupt him. He couldn't work anymore, and by
Yep.
the end, he died of heroin on the fucking bathroom floor. I mean,
Yep.
he became a mess, and a lot of him being a mess was him dealing with his court cases. Like there's recordings of him where he's going on stage with his legal papers, just reading the
Right.
legal
Yeah.
papers to the audience. He
Right.
lost his fucking mind.
Right.
But we also came up in a club system, and I consider myself a club comic. Like, that's what I do. That's what I'm supposed to do. But, like, these guys were before, like you say, Hackett and all these guys. Way before the club system, they played the Catskills. They played, like, some, a Jewish camp somewhere. They did that kind of thing. That was their, like, proving ground. And I'm sure that was, like, probably the hardest of the hardest gigs to do. It's like, it's an all ages show. It's, there may be a late show where they get to be a little saucier, but, it really is a tough thing. And it's the same crowd for a whole week. I mean, honestly,
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like I give it up to those guys. Like Joan Rivers, who I think also is like an unsung hero of comedy. Like she's like crosses over that thing from like where TV comedy becomes like a big deal, like where you see him on like Johnny Carson and all that kind of stuff. Like I love her sets. I watched them.
I miss her, man.
Yeah, she really was a great joke writer.
She was
really,
a savage too. She'd go after it.
Well, who else stayed relevant in there at 80 years old? Who else had new material at 80? Nobody.
It's really just those two, just Carlin and her,
I guess so.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
who else?
And she died trying to improve her voice, her instrument. Like she was still staying in it.
Yeah.
Sad one. I was at her
sad
funeral.
one.
It was really amazing. It was like a king died. She was the greatest.
She had some serious fucking horsepower when it came to like her ability to deliver punchlines and.
One of the best books I ever read, young comics out there, read Enter Talking by Joan Rivers about her early days in stand-up and acting. It's really a good
Don't
book.
read, ladies and gentlemen, Lenny Bruce, because you'll start putting foil over your windows and shooting up.
I did read that.
It's a great book,
That's
right?
how I started. I took a comedy class in New York.
Who was teaching?
Lee Frank, buddy of mine, he's out here is writing. And I was a fat loser living in New Jersey with my grandfather, and my buddy said, "Hey, take this comedy class. I think you'd be good at it." I go, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I think you'd be good at it." And I thought, well, it's near the bus station where I would go to work and then go visit my grandpa and take care of him. He was sick, and I would just go to this class for 3 hours. It was like a way to socialize, really. I didn't have a desire. I didn't even know what stand-up was. But the first assignment was to memorize a comedian's act and do it just for the class, just to get a sense of timing and what it was like, right? We understood it wasn't our material. It wasn't about that at all. And I heard Lenny Bruce was the coolest, so I went to the Springfield Public Library. I took out a Lenny Bruce live at Carnegie Hall double album. I still have it. And I memorized this routine, and I didn't get it. The class didn't get it. And I realized, like, God, context is everything. It just didn't make, it just wasn't funny. It didn't hold up at all. It made almost no sense to me. So I realized, like, it really is like you were saying before, Dave, like the moment,
the time,
present, the experience of being there.
People were so restricted back then in terms of their access to information, in terms of the way they talked to each other, that anything outside of the norm, anything being broadcast, and we have to also remember that broadcasting itself was only like 40 or 50 years old then. So this is a fairly new medium, right? And anything that was even remotely just outside of what the accepted standard operating way of behaving was considered decadent and racy and this dirty Lenny. They would, like he would talk about things that you're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, the taboo subjects.
But today, that same stuff has already been. He opened the door. Richard Pryor kicked it down, lit it on fire. Eddie Murphy nuclear bombed it, and then it kept going on. And Kinnison and Hicks, and it's those. There's nothing there anymore.
Yeah.
There's no shame in any of these subjects anymore. You can't. There's no built-in weirdness to it that he experienced back then, and he would have never been able to do comedy any differently. I think that's also what we need to understand. As if like Eddie Murphy went back to 1960 and did his same kind of material that he did in Raw. They wouldn't take it. Wouldn't everybody would be like, he's yelling at us?
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing?
Right.
Like, this is not comedy. Like, they wouldn't be ready for it. There's these stages that have to happen, and I think you kind of have to have a guy like Lenny who's like spelling it out for people, and then a guy like Carlin takes it to a different place, and then they just keep going. And then Pryor comes along and introduces this like incredible honesty to it.
It's like each comic had one less layer of exposition in their act, so that almost like they opened for each other by decade or by 5 years.
Almost, right?
That's so interesting.
And Kinnison, when Kinnison came around, that was the first time that I had ever saw something. I went, oh, well, comedy could be anything.
Yeah.
Because I thought that comedy was these guys who would go on the Tonight Show, because that's mostly what I'd see, where they would go, did you ever notice? And they would be talking about stuff they noticed. And I loved it. I would love stand-up comedy. But I never thought that stand-up comedy was anything like Kinnison. When I saw Kinnison for the first time, I was like, oh, this is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's doing a totally different thing.
Right.
Like, this is crazy.
He's doing an inner anxious monologue.
When he was standing in front of a guy going, you look at this face. You getting married? Look at this face. Oh.
Yeah.
I was married twice. I was married for 2 fucking years. Oh, nobody had ever done anything like that before. And I remember thinking at that time, like, wow, comedy's really fascinating because it can be so many different things.
But he also wanted to be a rock star.
Yeah,
so
he
it's
was
cool
a
how-
rock star.
Yeah, but when you see all those great things that he could do, like his stage craft, I guess you would call it,
Yeah.
the things he could do, he could really hold the stage. And in today's world where it's pretty much everyone's low key, that's kind of like the new style of like low key, whatever. It like that to me always it was like he was like a force of nature. That's what I was like. It was like this guy, like somebody opened the door and a hurricane came in.
Do you know
It's
that
like, I love that.
he has something like very seriously in common with Roseanne?
Kinnison?
They both experienced significant head injuries at a young age.
Oh, wow.
And then from then on, became this new person. Roseanne had the exact same story. She got hit by a car.
I heard that.
She got fucked up. She was in a mental hospital for
High
9
school.
months.
Yeah.
I mean, really bad. So when people talk about Roseanne and say bad things about him, like, you really are doing
I didn't know that.
everyone a disservice by expressing this the way you're doing it, because you're not even taking into consideration everything she does. You should take into consideration she had a significant brain, a massive trauma to the brain when she was like 15 years old.
Right.
Her head bounced off of the fender of a fucking car.
Right.
She was laid out. She was in a coma. She was in a mental institution for 9 months after that.
Right.
Like, this is like asking someone who has broken legs to not limp.
Even
That's
when you
what you're asking.
Even when I heard you talk to her about it, she almost like skipped over it, as if it was something she didn't really want to address, and you were like backtracked.
I had to get it out of her because this is what I know about her, and she knows that I'm a giant fan. Like, she knows. I always say, if you have to list like top 20 comics of all time, Roseanne is 100% in there, and probably one of the most important ones, because what she did when she first got on HBO, when people first started, she would fucking murder.
Domestic goddess.
Yeah, she would murder,
Yeah.
and she had a totally different style. She didn't give a fuck. Like when she was up there, it was the first time you saw a woman who was like aggressive and insulting and didn't give a fuck. Didn't give a fuck what she looked like. Didn't give a fuck what you thought about what she looked like. She was just there to be funny. And she knew that I had that opinion of her when she did the show. So it helped. You know, it helped like I'm not trying to hurt you in any way, and I just want people to understand who you are. She's on a fucking bunch of different psych medicines, man. They've got her on all kinds of crazy shit trying to even her out. And then on top of that, she's taking Adderall and she's drinking, and like, everybody relax. Like, leave that poor lady alone. Like, you're going after her when she's in her 60s for a fuck up on Twitter. And anybody who thinks that lady looks black is lying. You're either full of shit. Like, if you didn't know, if I said, okay, you don't know anything about her, what's the ethnicity? You'd be like, oh, a boy. You know, I save the picture on my phone in case I get in a conversation with people about it. Because it's one of those things where nobody wants to look like they are in any way racist, right? No one wants to look like they're racist. I don't want to, but you also have to be honest. Doesn't mean you're racist if you look at that and go,
I thought that was Dan Natterman.
She could be a lot of things. She could be a lot of things. She has long, straight hair, or not long, short, straight hair. Like, she could be a lot of things. This is not obvious.
Well,
and for you to say that it's obvious, you're being disingenuous. You're not. I can't talk to you because you're not being. You're not realistic. This is not obvious.
Well, you
but
know,
Roseanne shouldn't be tweeting about politics in the middle of the night on Ambien.
Well, she also shouldn't be tweeting about lizard people or any other crazy shit she tweets about.
But you know, Roseanne,
chemtrails and
before her show, when she went from comedy to her show, and once again, it was, like, her act was her show, and like that was one thing that, like, since her, everybody was always like, you know, you got to like throw out in your act like 20 minutes about like what you are and who you think the sitcom should be. And it was like, it didn't work as well for anybody else except for her, because that really was her life. And it was her thing.
It was organic.
And like Ray Romano was another guy who was really good at that, where he would put up, you know, his act. He's really a great joke writer too. He would like totally like have these great jokes about his family and his wife and the expectations of their relationship, and then that became the essence of that show. So that you see, like, everybody, you remember there was definitely a decade of like agents going like, hey, you gotta get like, you know, did you have a dog growing up? Do a joke about that, you know, and try and get a sitcom going on that thing.
I went through all that shit. They were trying to do sitcoms around people, and they would try to get you to put together like some sort of a theme and do it on stage for a sitcom. I remember seeing guys specifically craft an act that they thought was going to get
12
them a
minutes.
sitcom. Yes. People got seriously into it, man. It became like a different thing. It's like a goal. The goal was the sitcom. Tim Allen was another one.
Did you like those days acting?
I got lucky. Okay, I got super lucky. First of all, that I never had my own show. All right, so I never had to carry anything. And then two, I did a really shitty one first. A one that should have been really funny, but then too many people got involved, and it got too convoluted and fucked up, and it just didn't work. And that show got canceled. And then I got lucky that I got on a show that was they already did the pilot. When I came on to News Radio, Ray Romano was supposed to do the pilot. He gets fired. They hired a new guy. And then they filmed the pilot, and then after they filmed the pilot, they got rid of the new guy, and then I came in. There was a lot of steps.
So you jumped you jumped the hard part of.
I jumped all of it, and I walked.
But I mean, creatively, there's no way you found that fulfilling. Maybe at the time it was.
News radio was unusually free in how much you could create. You could constantly improve lines. Paul Sims is a genius and the nicest guy in the world, and he would let you. Like, he's no ego. Would do the best shit. Like, he would Dave Foley was constantly rewriting jokes and constantly introducing new punchlines. Like, he was like, you know, probably one of if you would look at all the punchlines that had ever been on the show, like a percentage of them you would attribute to Dave Foley, like a significant percentage. It's genius. But they would let him do it. They wanted everybody to do that. They wanted
the only job where you want to do more than you're supposed to, and you're like mad if they don't let you.
Well, there was 8 people on the show too. It's a lot of human beings to be talking for 22 minutes, and of course Phil was the star. You know, Phil Hartman was a big star.
He was so talented, that guy. So talented.
He was also like super professional. That guy would prepare. He would have a clipboard, right, or a notebook with all of his scenes in there with different colors for the tabs, and he would practice them. You'd see him sitting there by himself, just going over his lines and moving his head back and forth.
An actor.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fucking meticulous professional. Like,
I hate acting. I'm so bad at it. I'm just saying, but like some guys, especially the comics, where they go and they get that sitcom.
Grab that microphone.
Oh, sorry, buddy. The comics, they get the sitcom, and then they ride it as long as they can, and then they go back to stand up. And we've seen that. You can throw a dart at like a schedule anywhere in the country, and you'll see that guy. And I'm always like, isn't it sad that you didn't keep doing the stand up, because now you're kind of right back to where you started in terms of stand up. Like you didn't get to grow that way.
They fall apart.
Yeah,
a lot of them they don't do it for years.
And like everybody's always like, this is the best touring time when you have a sitcom. But most people don't want to go on tour like that. To me, I would be like, yeah, you're right. Let's get out there. But
well, you could do it for a few months, but
then you'd have to the schedule.
Time you're filming, you're going to be stuck in LA, and then on top of that, especially back then, when you start out a sitcom, you're doing 12-hour days until you figure out how to do it.
Right. True.
Once the show had been figured out by like season 3 or 4, we were down to like 3 days a week sometimes. 4 days a week, mostly 4, very rarely 5, unless there was some significant crazy scenes.
How many did you make?
We did 98, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
We just did 3. And we're
never too much. Too much.
Yeah. Maybe did 99, something like that. But I did 148 Fear Factors.
Wow.
And then I did 6 more. Then we did when it came back, and 6 or 7 more. So I think we did 7.
148.
Yeah, that was preposterous. That was when I was losing my mind.
And was it even one a day, or was it less than one a day?
No, one took 3 days.
Wow.
Sometimes you could bang out 1 in 2 days. Like you could have the B stunt early in the day and the C stunt at night, like the final stunt at night.
How was that process?
You know what? Again, very fortunate. It was a great gig, plenty of money, and it was all good. And it definitely helped my stand-up because it gave me fuck you money, too. It gave me the ability to not worry about, like, having money in the bank. Because I don't have, like, extravagant tastes. I'm not too ridiculous with money. But I like feeling like I don't have to worry. Like, as soon as you don't have to worry about, okay, good, don't think about that anymore. Now think about other things. So it really helped me there. And also the preposterousness of it was a boundless source of material.
Yeah.
It was just such a ridiculous show.
I loved it. I hosted a spinoff that didn't get picked up.
What was it called?
Say Uncle. Hurwitz's show too.
Was it?
And I was writing on the Man Show, and that's how I knew David Hurwitz, who was producing Fear Factor. And they had a show called Say Uncle, which I later parodied in the De Niro movie I wrote, the comedian, called like Stop Uncle or whatever it was. But anyway, one of the big things was a contestant got in a turkey pen, and we like put maple syrup all over him, and he rolled around, and these like birds like pecked at him, and his family's there watching, and he starts bleeding, and I stopped the thing, and the producers were mad, like, you can't stop in the middle. I'm like, the guy's crying. I go, and it was just a total disaster. You could tell it was going to be a big hit, but it was risky. And then I remember going to Jimmy Kimmel's like premiere party for Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I saw the head of ABC there. And I'd never done this in my entire life. He was like getting a drink, and I walked over and I said, "Please don't pick it up."
Really?
I said, "Yeah, it's rough. It's gonna be too hard to stand behind.
Really?
We're torturing people."
Whoa!
And they didn't pick it up. And he just kind of looked at me and smiled.
What year is this?
This would have been 2003.
Yeah, that was right after Fear Factor was first launched. When those shows, what happens is you get used to one thing, and so you have to do something that's bigger and better the next year.
Yeah.
And so when we came back, I felt uncomfortable with a lot of the shit. They know how to do it. Like these stunt guys are top of the food chain. But they were doing some sketchy shit. Like one of them, we had these people chained to a tree. With bungee cords that were attached to a helicopter. Okay,
Wow.
And they had to figure out the right locks to unlock the bungee cord or the straps that keep them to the tree. And then as soon as they do, they undo the strap and they go fucking shooting out into space, into the center of this gigantic canyon, and they're bouncing underneath this helicopter.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, like, this doesn't...
Yeah.
If we could do this 1,000 times, one of them, some's going to die.
Of course.
One of them, someone's going to die, and it might be the next one.
But it never happened.
We got lucky, dude. I really feel like we got lucky. I really, really, honestly, 100% feel like we got lucky. There was a few things. First of all, there's a certain amount of risk that you take whenever you're doing anything like jumping a car off of a building roof, which we did. We had people fly cars across a train, a moving train. Okay, there's risk involved in that, right? But the one that scared the shit out of me the most was bull riding. We had people ride bulls. It was the only time I told contestants, don't do it. I'm like, if you want to ask me, I would say, don't do it.
On air?
No. Before we, no, on air, I mean, I gave them the standard.
Right.
But when, I would talk to them, I'd say, look, this is up to you, right? I mean, if you want to go on, I mean, people do know how to ride bulls, but you don't know how to ride a bull. We're not teaching you how to ride a bull. You're not going through classes. You're not slowly but surely building up your techniques.
Right.
You're just going to go ride a bull.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. That's what I would say.
Right.
And we had this girl. She was like 98 pounds. She got launched off the back of this bull. And look at this. These people went fucking flying. Like, look at that. That thing's kicking.
You got to know how to fall, too.
Barely misses them when it's kicking. I mean, they're wearing helmets and shit. But look at this.
Wow. Hit her.
I mean, come on, man. Look at this. I mean, the fall, the way she felt like that is like getting hit in the back of the head with the world.
Yeah.
So, like, my personal feelings about trauma and about what's dangerous and shit like this is a no, especially for a 90-pound woman like this poor lady.
Oh, my goodness.
And she got up.
Cute little fella I was back then. Yeah, she got up, man. She was tough as shit. But everybody, I feel like in that one, I feel like we got lucky. I feel like we rolled the dice. Because if they stomp you, they lacerate livers and crush spleens, and they can stomp you. The funny thing was those stunt guys are so fucking tough. Those guys are so used to putting their ass on the line that they don't think anything about someone doing something risky.
Right.
To them, that's what you do. You show up for work.
Right.
And
that's definitely a different in your head, like alpha something.
They're animals.
To have to do that.
They're like fighters.
To crave that.
Or
you
like
you got to wonder what the
wrestlers.
family's saying. Does it keep them from having a family? Who's going to marry you if you're throwing your life on the line unrelated to war or famine?
Well, I think there's a certain allure to it. Remember that TV show, The Fall Guy?
Yeah. How about Evel Knievel?
Yeah,
Women loved him.
Women loved Evel Knievel.
I guess that's a good point.
Women love risk takers. They like BMX guys that do those flips and shit. And
those guys are those guys
kick out
really.
of that shit.
And now they have the parkour guys where they like climb up a building with no any kind of.
That's what you should do,
out of their
Dave. So you
fucking
could
mind.
smoke. You should do parkour
sit on
outside.
a iron grid.
Do you exercise at all, Dave?
I do the kettlebells.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Yeah.
You still doing that?
Because I wanted to ask you this off the mic, but it's like I seem to be getting more out of pull-ups and just regular calisthenics than I am out of the kettlebell experience. I think it's because like maybe I'm just more into it now.
Well, there's definitely no better exercise for you than pull-ups and push-ups.
That to me is the one.
If somebody had to say for the rest of your life, you got a pull-up bar and no weights.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. I'd be like, I'll take that over not having a pull-up bar. Because I think there's certain kind of workouts that you only get when you manipulate your own body too. Mm-hmm. Push-ups, I think, too, because you could vary your push-up widths, and you could do so many things just with chin-ups and push-ups, and then with body weight, like single-leg squats and things like that. You can get a tremendous workout in with just a chin-up bar and body weight.
And there's something about like that. Do 100 of them. Like I can't even do like 10. Like 10 would be great for me. But like the guys who can do 100, it's so hard. It's almost like torture to do
chin-ups?
Chin-ups.
Anybody who can do 100 chin-ups is a fucking savage.
Yeah, like I mean that definitely is the goal. But I'm old and I'm fat.
I'll do 100 in
you can.
like 2 sets.
Yeah.
I don't do it though. I do sets of 10. And I don't do any more than 10, and I do them multiple times a day. Like I have a chin-up bar in my house, so I'll walk in and I'll just jump up and do a set of 10. Mm-hmm. And I've found that like the one thing that's helped my squeeze, like with jiu-jitsu and with being able to pick my body and just move around better, is to just do them randomly throughout the day. I do chin-ups all the time. Like over the bars in the back, I'll do a show here, and then I'll go back and do 10 chin-ups.
I'm
Bang.
like that with masturbation, so I can have sex anytime.
You're always
ready to go.
Always ready to go.
But if I had to pick one thing, it would be that. It'd be a chin-up bar and then body weight stuff. You could do that for sure. If you're not into the kettlebells.
On the road, it's like hard to do. Like I don't like going to the hotel gym or anything like that. I like to keep it in the room. So sometimes, jump rope or something like that. But I would say I've gotten in better shape, but I still feel like crap most of the time. But when I was a kid, like it was all that stuff, like push-ups and sit-ups and all that kind of stuff. And now that I'm back to it, I'm like, I forgot how great this is. It's really cool.
You know what's a great thing for the road?
We'll do some pull-ups afterwards.
You ever fuck with those TRX things? You know, those straps?
Yes. No, my trainer was helping me with
strap
that.
it into the door of the hotel room, and you could do all these crazy exercises. And it's real small. You could just tuck it in your bag.
I love the hotel room. Like we've all seen that in the movie, The Assassin. Doing a couple very slow push-ups.
Well, sometimes if I go down to a gym and there's nothing that I want to do in there, I'll work out in my hotel room. Definitely.
You never were like a runner, were you? Like
I run now.
Oh, you do?
But it's only been over the last couple of years, really.
But even when you were like doing Taekwondo, right?
Yeah, I didn't
never
run
had
much.
I thought that was part of their thing. They had like a military kind of feel to it.
They definitely had a military feel to it, and some different. They would call it dojangs. You know, Jeff's a black belt in Taekwondo. Too.
I know. We actually on the show he pulls out the nunchucks.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's not a part of it, but that's okay.
You know, I'm rusty. I have to admit, I need to get back.
Do you exercise these days?
I've been doing a little bit of yoga, but honestly, I've been doing a lot of not exercising lately.
He needs
and I
like
don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like I'm in a place now where I need to start exercising again.
We talked about this in the parking lot the other day, right?
I've been on a stand-up hiatus, and when I'm not performing, I don't care as much about my instrument.
Right.
And I've been editing and writing and producing, so I don't know. I've gotten a little lazy, and I don't feel as good. Like I recognize it in my body, so I need to snap out of it.
I think he needs like a group or like people to hang with, because that would make it more fun.
Working out by myself.
Yeah, if there was like a group of guys, come on, man, don't let us down.
You could find like a CrossFit class to join or some shit like that. I mean, they always have those kind of things. There's all sorts of different classes that you like. What's
I like
great
yoga.
too? Yoga's awesome. I've done one of those high intensity interval training things at a yoga place too, where you do some yoga and some like really light weights, but all these crazy little exercises. That's fun too.
I got a good dancer pose.
You got a dancer pose?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Let me see.
Easy.
Oh, you're trying to do that? Don't hurt yourself.
Easy.
In studio.
Yes.
Oh, that. Is that what it's called? Standing bow.
So good.
I think it's called standing bow.
Yeah. And there's this one.
Keep it going.
Where you going? No one can see you.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, you're supposed to grab both legs, but that's okay.
Do it.
Grab that other leg, bitch.
You got it. Nope.
This is
one
so
more time.
sad. You really do yoga?
Yes.
Come on, son. Here he goes. Yeah.
Nice. And the headphones on take it to the new level. It's like a
What's
NASA
that
mission.
one called again?
A cry for help.
I call it the crab.
So when you say you do yoga, like how often do you do it?
When I would go to hot yoga. You go a couple times a week, or now I just kind of do it in my backyard to stretch out after a long flight or something.
That's good. Anything's
And it's
better than
also
nothing.
kind of like you at the tank, like that's a time to think about life, to think through a bit, to think through a mission that you're working on, some family issue. It's like quiet. It's about you. For me, yoga, it's like giving yourself a massage. It's more gratifying than going to get
Work
a
out
massage.
weights and stuff.
I like to stretch out before sets. You ever do that? Do
Yeah.
stretches before you go do a set? That
Yeah.
feels real good. There's something about that that's very relaxing. Puts you in a good. I think you carry around when you're tight. You carry around a lot of like
In your
weird
hips.
tension that you don't necessarily want.
Pigeon pose. That's where all the tension is.
Pigeon pose.
That's the one where your leg comes under your.
I want to ask Joe this.
What the fuck is he doing?
Oh wow, Jeff, I've
that
never
one.
seen this one.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's called. Is that
That's a
called?
good
That's
one.
a hip opener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
Good
at
hips.
that.
Good hips, bro.
That looks so sad.
That's the best one. Like if you go to hot yoga, people will do that pose and start crying because there's so much emotion and anxiety released from the hips.
Yeah, that's not real.
Joe,
You're just crying because someone told you should cry.
Not
There's
me,
so
no.
much emotional anxiety.
you want to be a
in your
part of it.
hips.
The group cry.
Nonsense. They always want to say that. This is opening up your colon. You don't have any fucking. There's no diagrams. You don't know where the colon is. Like, you better stop. You better stop saying that. You don't have any fucking.
There's
what are they,
tension. There's tension in the hips.
CAT scans. What's that stuff called? Magnetic resonance, MRIs. You don't have that, bro. You don't have any like real evidence. There's emotion. There's a little ball of me hiding in my hip. And then when I lay like this, I just think about my dad. And I miss him so much. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You don't have any memories specifically. And people say no. But when I'm in that position and they tell you that it's if emotions come out here, you just let them. I'm like, what emotions are gonna come out? And then I started crying. You're being hypnotized. Someone told you.
Well,
They put a
it's also
suggestion.
permission to be emotionally vulnerable.
Yes, that and hypnosis.
And you
It's
can't
also-
get that eating lunch at a deli or working out with the boys in the gym if you're at a quiet, dark yoga place with other people that are staring at the floor.
Right.
You can relax a little emotionally.
That's a logical definition. That's a logical way of explaining what's
Namaste.
really going on. Namaste. I mean,
Joe-
it's good. It's
Joe,
good.
let me ask you a question. Do you eat before you go on stage?
No.
Me neither. This
Yeah.
guy has to eat he has to eat before he goes on stage,
Like
like
right
right before, like
Well,
pretty much
everybody's
right
different.
before.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with eating some fruit right before you go up on stage. But for me, I don't want to. There's a certain amount of resources your body is going to use for digestion. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a reason why fighters don't eat a fucking steak
Yeah.
and mashed potatoes right
I hate
before
that
they
feeling.
fight. Because your body will be like, fuck you, dude. We got to digest this stuff, and it's sloshing around in your stomach. It gets in the way.
I hate it.
Obviously,
But I know plenty of people who have to eat.
Sometimes in that first episode of our show, I eat during the show.
Yeah.
I ordered mozzarella sticks to the stage. That's how hungry I was by the Late Show.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. It's not to say that you can't do it. And for you, you're so casual. Like, you're probably better off feeling good than you are like having more mental alertness slightly, but also like being
I like
hungry.
the hunger. I
And
like
the
that.
hunger's annoying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I ate in the car coming to your studio today, and the first thing I said to Jeff, who answered the door, was, "Is there anything to eat around here?" Because it's like it's an anxiety thing too.
Yeah.
Like before you're going to perform, and I remember reading years and years and years and years ago that David Letterman would eat pineapple right before he went on. So
That
I
makes sense.
always ask for pineapple in my riders. Hi, Stacy.
Pineapple's a good Stacey Mark in the
Yeah.
house. I love her.
He would also do a fasting and then he would like pig out. That was his thing.
Letterman.
That's what I heard. That like
Yeah.
he would like not eat for like 2 or 3 days, and then he would do that. And that's how my friend Russ does it. That like that kind of thing of like where you like just basically Spartan, like nothing, and then like you get to eat whatever you want.
I believe for sure that people eat too much food, and me included. I eat too much
Me,
food.
for
And
sure.
when I fast, like especially intermittent fast, I do like 16 hours at night. When I do that, I feel way better. Way better.
Wait, what?
Fasting.
Between dinner
Not
and the
eating.
next time I eat is 16 hours.
Jeff, can you imagine that?
No.
You could. You just decide, and you go to bed.
I would have to be getting a colonoscopy or a root canal.
You just look. You eat dinner. You're done at 8. You go to bed or do whatever the fuck you do, but just no more
How do you
food.
perform? How do you?
What are you talking about?
He can't. Yeah,
If
you
I'm
have to eat
going
to go
on
on.
stage at 10, the last thing I want to do is eat any later than 8.
I go right to the cookies at the back of the comedy store.
Okay, cookies are different though.
Oh.
That's quick carbs. That actually is not a bad idea.
I see.
That's not a
Wow,
bad idea.
really?
No, not a bad idea at all. Like
You
a
don't
cookie,
eat that stuff, do you?
I'll eat that stuff. Look, when I was doing this Sober October fitness challenge with Ari and Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, I ate everything in sight. I ate pizza and cookies. I ate everything because I just wanted calories. But the problem with cookies and stuff like that is like you can eat them, but you just can't make a habit of eating them all the time or it will fuck you up. It's just going to fuck you up.
Something's
but right
happening to
before
me,
you go
yeah.
on stage, not a bad idea. Got a little pick-me-up energy,
Yeah.
quick carbs.
Yeah.
Your body's going to break down those carbs and those sugar, and glucose is a very good fuel for the brain. You know?
Really?
Yeah, it works. Yeah. Carbs are good for the brain, especially in like if your body's carb adapted. If you eat carbs all the time and you can eat some carbs right before you go on stage, that'll give you like a little energy.
I feel so much better.
Even lifting.
Yeah, really.
Like if you wanted to have a cookie or maybe even a Snickers bar and then lift weights, I wouldn't say don't do that.
Wow.
I'd say that'll give you some fucking sugar to burn off. Like it's not the best food for you in the world, but you're asking for it for a very specific reason. Like after it's over, I'd say, yeah, go have some salmon and some vegetables and eat healthy. But right before you want to work out, like you could drink a Coke.
Right.
Like you could drink a Coca-Cola. And if you're going to lift for an hour, okay, go ahead, drink a Coke. Who gives a shit?
Right.
You're going to burn that shit off, and it's just going to be fuel that you use. I wouldn't suggest you do
man.
it all the time, but it's not going to have a negative effect on you. It's really a cumulative thing with people in diets. It's eating too much sugar, too much bullshit for too many days in a row, and not giving your body a chance to relax.
See, when I don't eat, I never consider like, oh, that's lightheadedness. I'm like, I'm probably having a stroke right now. I go, this is it. I should find
I
a place
think
to lay
about
down.
food more
pull
than
over.
sex, I think.
That's awesome. Well, listen, food is fucking phenomenal, right? And you're lucky. You live in New York City, and then you come to L.A., so you're in both places, and you're in two spots that have some of the greatest restaurants on the planet Earth. And if you're like a foodie, if you're a foodie,
do you consider yourself a foodie?
You got some cash, Jeff Ross. You can
Hell
go
yeah.
wherever the fuck you want.
I do.
Yeah,
We do.
you can order a nice bottle of wine and have a fucking beautiful steak with the right accoutrements. And, you know, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a beautiful pleasure.
And if I eat a steak, some red meat, it's fuck or fight.
Yeah.
It's like I'm either on stage or
you're on
I'm
the
like
toilet.
ready to go all night. Like as soon as I eat a steak, and I don't eat them as much as I used to, but
We
that
were eating
really-
a lot on the tour. Remember, it was you, me, and Yamanika.
Yeah.
That was a great. What were you guys having there? Like a porterhouse. You know the thing where like not only are the ribs still there, but the hooves, like that kind of thing. Like really, basically, like a do it yourself kind of steak.
Bone-in ribeye.
And we really went to town on that.
Should eat more of that. I
I love a
believe
good
that.
steak.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think what's wrong with steak, what people think what's wrong with red meat, is all the stuff you eat with it. All the sugar and bullshit and bread and pasta and then
Interesting.
alcohol and sedentary life. There's a bunch of things. But I think if you're a healthy person who exercises all the time, I don't think steak's bad for you at all. I don't even think a little bit. I think it's good for you. I think it's the opposite of bad for you. I think all of our preconceived notions about what's healthy, all of them vary, because some people, they really don't do good with red meat. Some people don't do well with fish. People have weird bodies.
I don't eat fish.
I don't like it either. Do you eat it?
Love it.
You do.
Love
that,
fish.
That right away like steps up your whole game, right? That's
For
like,
sure,
It's a
like-
life-saving thing.
Well, if you get a lot of those essential fatty acids that you can get from like an oily fish, like a salmon, they're so good for you, man.
Yeah.
So good at reducing inflammation. Do you take fish oil at all?
No.
Yeah.
One of the best things you can take: fish oil, krill oil, anything. Getting those essential fatty acids, which so many people are missing from their diet. Just getting a good, healthy supply of it every day. It's just good for everything, man. It's good for your skin. It's good for your brain. Good for muscle development.
Fish oil.
Yeah, fish oil is phenomenal. It's good for inflammation, and if you have joint aches and stuff like that. Fish oil is. Do I have a booger? I feel like I have a booger. You know how you like touch
think
your
you're
nose
good.
and it feels moist, and you're like, "What's happening here? Do I have a clinger? What's going on here? We're good."
I think you're clean. You're good.
But fish oil is just one of the best things, man. It's so good for you.
What is it?
What is fish oil?
Yeah.
It's oil extracted from fish, and what
The
they
tears
usually
of the
do
fish.
is a little bit of cum. They
Dave sells that at the
purify
merch
it.
booth at the.
Joe, so
It's like David. Tell
have you ever
fish
like
oil.
caught like a what is it, like a sport fish, you know, like a big one or anything like that, and then you would make steaks out of that too?
I've done that with the most delicious thing I think I caught was a wahoo. I think.
I know what that
What
is.
is the other name
That's
for it?
huge,
There's another
too.
name for it. It was a pretty
Swordfish?
big one.
No.
We caught it in Hawaii. It was phenomenal, man, because
big.
we brought it. We were staying at a hotel, and we brought it to the waiter or the chef in the hotel would cook stuff for you, and you would just bring him the fish, and you know he would go, how do you guys think you want to prepare this? And so we said, I don't know, like what do you think? Like it's like what would you do if somebody brought you this? He goes, I would prepare it a bunch of different ways. He goes, this is a huge fish, so I can make you guys like a little bit of ceviche, a little bit of sushi. I'm like, yes. Perfect.
Wow.
So he cooked it 6 hours after it was dead. I mean, we caught it, and then 6 hours later, we're eating it for lunch. It was insane. It was so good.
That is cool.
Oh, that's it right there.
Wow.
That's what it looks like. There's another name for it,
In
though.
Hawaii, they call it an ono.
Oh, no, that's
Oh,
right.
no,
That's
yeah.
right. It's
Oh, no.
delicious. It's so
Look
good.
how the fish is looking at the camera too. Oh wait,
That's not a what?
well, that's crazy. You know,
But yeah, it's.
do you like fishing over hunting? No,
I
fishing
like
is
them
harder.
both. I like them both.
You do?
Hunting is way more intense, and I feel way worse for the animal. Like I don't feel bad for fish.
Yeah, exactly. Because you
For
know,
whatever reason. I'm just being honest. Like if I
Yeah.
catch a big salmon
Yeah.
and I'm like, sorry, dude,
right?
but this is what I'm here for. Like, but when I shoot a deer, there's always a little part of me that's like, ooh,
That's tough.
you know, this is what I eat, and I know that if I don't do this, they're going to die of either starvation or disease, or they're going to be ripped apart asshole first by coyotes. Like, this is not a good end for them no matter what, and me shooting them is probably the best end they're ever going to get.
Interesting.
All those justifications aside, it's a different feeling when you see like an elk down than when I
Yes.
catch a salmon. If I
Yep.
catch a salmon, it's 100% happiness.
But what about when you pull the trigger? Seeing the animal down is one thing, but what about knowing it's coming?
It's hard to keep your shit together.
That's the hunter. That's the hunting.
You get emotional?
No, you don't. You get nervous. You don't want to fuck it up. You don't want to injure anything. So there's a lot of anticipation in that moment. It's very intense. And whatever amount of meat you get from that animal, whenever you eat it, you're going to think about that moment. I think about that moment every time I eat
You
a
lick
steak.
your lips.
Well, you think about it like this was a intense life or death moment in life, like this circle of life, food chain moment in life that I participated in, and now I'm eating it. So I know exactly what the food is, as opposed to going to Morton's, get a nice steak, and get some mashed potatoes. I don't know where the fuck they grew that potato. I don't know where that.
I get
cow
that
came
feeling
from.
when I open the
Can of Pringles.
when I'm in the refrigerator aisle at Ralph's and creamsicles.
Do you like fishing at all?
I used to fish as a kid in the Hudson River with my grandfather. We would catch bass, and I really loved it. I haven't done it since I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun thing to do.
It's a passion.
Yeah, well, it's just if you could find if you're doing a gig and you could find a spot that has like a party boat, especially, and they'll take you out and everybody dunks a line in and people are pulling fish left and right and everybody's laughing and people are drinking beers. It's fucking fun, man.
I bet.
It's fun. Yeah, but that was a big thing in New England. We used to do party boats for bluefish, and we just go to a spot and everybody drop their line in. And they'd be pulling these fish up, and then you cook them later that night. It's fantastic.
Wow.
It just makes you think about what a fish is too, and how weird it is. We got this alien world connected to us. We pull these things out, cut their fucking heads off, and cook them up.
Well, you've been to Japan and all those places.
I have been to Japan, but I fucked up when I was there, and I didn't go to the fish market.
Yeah. Oh man.
I heard the fish market in Tokyo is one of those.
There's like a million fish we don't
events.
even know about that they like. It's crazy what
Really?
they eat. Yeah. It's so interesting to see. Like we're so used to, like you said, bread and all that stuff. It's like is it a meal without bread? It's like these people like
Guys are
go
making me fucking
months without
hungry.
seeing a piece of bread.
Yeah, they're not into bread, and they're all thin.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Their noodles, a lot of times, are rice noodles. It's very different. There's wheat noodles there too, though, right? They eat different than us. They have a completely different style of eating, and just it's one of the coolest things about Tokyo, man, is that it's almost like an alternative country. It's
Oh, you mean the city?
because it's so different. Like, say if you're in Los Angeles, right? You leave from Los Angeles, and you're here in 2018, and you're driving around. This is the way people live over here, and this is how people are in traffic, and this is how people are when they come to the Comedy Store and all these different places. And then you go to Tokyo, you go, oh wow, this is
Future.
also people in 2018
Right.
that are living at the exact same time, but they're doing it totally differently. Like, everybody's super polite as you walk down the street. There's no people bumping into anybody. Nobody's yelling at anybody. They're very polite. But they're also very Japanese, right? The majority of the people you see are Japanese.
Yeah, it's homogeneous.
Slightly integrated, right? I mean, you see some Africans there, you see some people like us there, but it's mostly Japanese people. It's interesting to see.
Have you seen this TV show on Amazon called The Man in the High Castle?
No, what is it?
It's a future. It's basically America if the Nazis won the war,
Whoa.
and they partner with the Japanese,
Whoa.
and the Japanese own California, Northern California, and the Nazis own the rest of the country. And the Midwest is sort of a no man's land. So New York is Nazi New York.
They split it at the Rockies.
But Japanese.
Whoa. Is this
Japanese
a series?
It's
Yeah,
it's a
in its
Philip
third season. I'm obsessed with it.
Philip Dick is the sci-fi writer, so he's
wow.
classic. It's one of his books.
Oh, no
Yeah,
shit.
so he's the mayor of New York.
He's great,
basically.
this guy.
That guy's been in a lot of stuff.
He's really good.
What is his name?
I forgot the actor's name. Rufus
Rufus
Sewell. Yeah.
Sewell? Rufus Sewell? Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
It
He's really good.
Look
He
at his
plays the
fucking
governor
name.
of New York.
What
the
season is this?
Obergrubenpfuffer.
The Obergrubenpfuffer is the
Fu-
governor of
Fuhrer,
New York?
yeah.
Fuhrer is the governor of New York?
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's a very interesting show. Basically, New York cops wearing Nazi armbands. So they're still New York cops like, hey, the Fuhrer says I got to give you
Yeah.
a ticket. It's like that. And
Wow.
it's fascinating how they do the show. But what's interesting about Japanese culture in the show is you see the fancy class, the aristocratic class of Japan runs essentially San Francisco, and you see how they're very snobby and very particular, and they don't really like to mix with the Americans,
Wow.
with the Anglos. It's a fascinating show.
That's a really that guy Philip K. Dick. Do you know him? Am I saying his name right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know about him. He really is. He's really. he's really super cool, like in terms of the sci-fi stuff. And
yeah,
you know,
what else has he written? I've seen there was another movie that I saw of his like within the last 2 years.
you're right. What is it? Could you bring up his books, because I would know.
What other movies did he do, or did they adapt of his movies? What do we got here?
So this guy
Scanner
wrote
Darkly.
that show?
Oh, Scanner Darkly. Wow, that's right. Damn, he wrote a lot of shit.
The Adjustment Team, isn't that a movie too?
Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, the art direction is really cool. The idea of Nazifying America.
You know what's interesting too is you can still do that in a movie where you can still play Nazis as long as they're, you know, the bad people in some either historical thing or something that's going on now. That's really the only way you could portray Nazis. Like, you're not allowed to be a Nazi for Halloween. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
You
true.
can't.
That's
Like,
true.
people have said, like, people have tried it and you get called out for it. Like, there's rules now. You can be a
I can't
Nazi
say
if you
too
want to get
much.
on that show.
What did your kids go for Halloween? Did they do that, or
Yeah,
do
they
they
were
even have it?
mermaids.
They what?
It was very adorable. They were mermaids. But if you're dressing up for Halloween, you could be so many terrible things.
Right.
You could be vampires and werewolves and demons, and everybody's okay, cool.
And
Zombies.
dictators.
I went as a
Dictators.
plastic straw.
Genghis Khan. You could be
Right.
Genghis Khan. Can't be Hitler.
You could be Saddam Hussein and people will laugh.
Yes, Saddam Hussein. We got him. We got that guy.
But if you dress as Mengele, you've ruined the party.
If you dress as Osama bin Laden, that might get your ass kicked. You might get your ass kicked
Right.
for that one. Right, that was too soon. But if you dress like, you could probably dress like the president of Iran. What's that dude's name? That dude that came over here and said a bunch of crazy shit
Shah.
about gay people.
Abu Jabba Jabba.
do you know what I'm talking about?
But why?
It was-
Let's just talk about it for a second. I remember when people were offended that there was an Anne Frank Halloween costume. Mm-hmm. Now, if the point of talking about the Holocaust or something like that is never forget, and a 14-year-old in a non-mocking way wants to embody Anne Frank, why is that offensive? I don't understand that.
But they're never going to do it non-mocking, right? Every time you're making a Halloween costume, you're almost always trying to be silly, right? You're always oh, look, Anne Frank, he's hiding in the attic.
Halloween-acost. But I don't know. It all depends on, to me, your intentions.
100%. You should be able to wear whatever the fuck you want. I mean,
That's
you
why I
really-
never understood when that Prince Harry got all this shit for dressing like a Nazi. It's like, I don't know, maybe...
When did he dress like a Nazi?
He,
When was it?
he dressed it was a costume party.
Yeah.
And he
And
dressed
then
as
all
a
the World War
Nazi?
II veterans are like, what would you do? Why would you do that? You know.
But
he
that doesn't
wanted to-
mean he's
Right.
glorifying it, does it? I guess, if he's the prince.
Right, but you could be a Mongol. You could be one of the Mongol horde that tore through Europe.
But he's
Killed
also a symbol
millions.
unto itself. He's a symbol of the English royalty and all that kind
I
of
guess
stuff.
because it's hundreds of thousands of years later. It's okay.
Hey, but he grew up all right. He got
He's-
out of it.
That motherfucker's living under a microscope, though. I mean, what he can get away with, but pretty much no one can get away with being a Nazi anymore. There was a guy from, like, North Carolina or something like that recently. Him and his son were Nazis for Halloween.
There's one person that can get away with it, and I can't say too much because we haven't released it yet, but
Oh, okay.
Gilbert Gottfried.
No, he can get away with
I
it.
know what he-
If you're a Jew, you can get away with it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about
you
that.
Have you can. Yeah.
Everybody's
well, that was one of the
everyone's
things
upset
about
all the
Roseanne,
time.
too.
Yes. Go ahead. You're right. I mean,
Remember when she did that? She dressed as a Nazi?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always think that stuff's funny. When I was a 13-year-old kid in Hebrew school or grade school learning about the First Amendment, this is one of the reasons I became a comedian was because I used to just draw swastikas on my notebooks just because I knew I could. I was like, they would teach us about dictatorships, and I
Right.
would go, wow, so in any other country, they can't do this, and I would just do it, make myself smile, and then cross it out. And I go, in any other country, I'd get my tongue cut out. I go, that's the most beautiful thing is that you can say fucked up, terrible, you can dress like an asshole. Like, bad taste is not a crime.
Right. Yeah, and that was what one of the... You remember the Yale uprising a couple of years back? There was a guy, Nicholas, Greek name, and his wife. They were at Yale, and the wife sent out an email saying that we need to stop policing people's costumes. It's Halloween costumes.
Right,
And-
she got fired.
Yeah, and you can have a politically incorrect Halloween costume. Like we should relax. And people started freaking out. They cornered him in the square.
Right.
And were screaming.
That's right.
Nick, here it is. Christakis. I don't want to fuck up his. So Nicholas Christakis. So he's a Greek-American sociologist and physician, and he was teaching at Yale. And these kids they confronted him, and they were screaming at him like, "This is our safe place. You fucking ruined our place." It was so bizarre and strange and hostile. And he was just trapped out there with these nonsensical kids screaming at him that like he's racist and this whole thing is racist and you shouldn't be able to wear whatever costume you want. Like no one even specified like what we're talking about.
It was ethnic costumes that they're not supposed to appropriate another culture.
Yeah.
Even though like it's just for the party. I don't know
It
what to
doesn't
say.
matter, man. People are just looking for a reason to be upset. It doesn't have to make any sense.
But the whole idea of like this woke
Ding, 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 ding.
this woke thing, like my niece and nephew are going to college. They're going to get ready to go to college, and I'm like, oh god, this is going to be so difficult.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come out of this machine, pretty much looking at me as like, pretty much I'm already not that relevant, but like just like all of my references and stuff like that are just going to be so inappropriate.
Right.
And it's like when you go to college, you're supposed to go to the open your mind, not to really focus your opinion that you already have. So that's what I felt was like. I felt like everybody's like, I don't want to play a college show, and we're all dreading like the day when we have to play a show like that, where everybody there has that group think.
No, you have to adapt, and you do adapt.
I know.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
I adapt fine, but I'm just saying, like playing a college show now, you probably could do it, but I don't think I could.
Of course you could.
Yeah, you adapt in terms of doing a set. You can.
Yeah, but you
definitely
hate
do a
yourself
set, but
that
you
ride
won't-
home.
You won't want to do that.
Yeah,
what you
you'd hate
want to do is
yourself.
be able to do whatever you want to do.
And it would make you want to do it.
It's
too.
also
It would make
you're
you
not
want to go push it.
You're not offensive or mean. Yeah, you're not a bad person. So what
Yeah, but
you're
they don't take that into account. It's the words coming out of your mouth, they take them literally.
Right.
That's why we're in this state that we're in now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm
They
saying.
don't see the irony or the sarcasm in it. That the sense of humor in this country has never been lower, and I can say that as like what Jeff's talking about, like when we were little kids, like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. These movies that like everybody was watching them, enjoying them, and stuff like that. Now they have all these hidden meanings, and people look into that, and I'm like, it was like just a fun time. It was
Yeah.
just like a fun experience. It wasn't like that was like the template for how to live.
I think you can bounce back, but I think what's happening
I don't
now
think so.
is there's a certain number of people that want to be able to change the way other people talk and what they talk about because they're ultra sensitive, so they have this giant reaction to things that may or may not be relevant. And it's a debate whether or not it's relevant.
Right.
Some things we've changed, right? Like certain words that you used to be able to say easily just a few years ago, way hard to get away with saying now because the culture is shifting in a way that's becoming more sensitive. So probably that's good as long as they understand context and intent. See, context and intent
That
is
doesn't
why
mean we
comedy
should
works.
disavow Mel Brooks because he used the N-word 50
Of course
times
not.
in a movie.
Of course not. Of course not. It's a different time.
When my Uncle Murray said, I brought when I brought a Chinese girlfriend home to my Pop Jack, and he's like, East is East and West is West, and never the two shall meet. We didn't kick my grandfather out of the family. We just said,
kicked
Pop,
him right into
you're-
Congress.
Listen, that guy grew up like what we were watching. That guy grew up in World War II.
Of course.
I mean, no one could ever. There's no way we're going to understand that.
Right.
The difference in the way people saw the world that had to deal with an actual world war to this soft, pampered ass life we're living. I don't condone racism, but I understand why people hold grudges.
Right.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? If you went over to Vietnam and lost half your fucking friends and you came back over here and you're fucked up still because of it, like, I don't condone racism, but I think that anytime you're forced into a situation where your country is at war with another side, it's probably really hard for people to forgive people.
Right.
I mean, how hard is it? That was one of the things that someone said about the Japanese. They're not really too thrilled with Americans. And I said, well, how do you think you'd feel if you were showing up 40 years after someone had literally nuked your country twice? Just annihilated hundreds of thousands of people with one bomb. I mean, made shadows on the concrete of where someone's body used to be. Just vaporized them. Women, children, babies, grandma, grandpa, everybody gets it. Boom. I mean, who the fuck is going to be nice after that?
Yeah.
It takes a long time to forget that shit.
Right.
Who's that the Japanese baseball guy?
Sadahario.
Yeah, they got to negotiate that into the contract, and you got to give me a little extra for Hiroshima.
And Nagasaki.
Reparations.
A little
Fucked
something
up
else.
thing is they did it twice.
America doesn't give itself enough shit for having the internment camps here. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever been on one of those. There's one up on Washington State on Bainbridge Island. Where I have
There's
family.
one on Bainbridge Island, really?
Yeah.
Bainbridge is beautiful. I
It's
can't
a
believe they had an
beautiful
internment
place.
camp
They had
out
an
there.
internment camp there. And there's,
Jesus.
you know, we're not all. And we got into that war late, man. We don't give ourselves enough shit for that either.
Yeah, this wasn't the guy from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
What is his name?
George Takei?
George Takei. George
Yeah.
Takei.
He's
He
a
was-
survivor. He
Yeah.
lived in a Japanese internment camp.
when he was a little kid.
And for people also, FDR was president for 4 terms.
Isn't that crazy?
Was he really?
He was
Yeah.
president for 4 terms. He died in a year into his 4th term.
How can you?
You
do
sure
that?
about that? Was it 4 or 3? But it definitely was more
No,
than
he had
2.
3, and then he got elected.
Then
to
they
the 4th
stopped.
and
After
died.
that, they were like, it can only be 2.
Right.
But I bet you they're not going to. Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
If you had a great president, though, you'd
Right.
be like, I want to keep doing his job. Like, if a
Bloomberg
guy is an
did that.
awesome CEO of Google, you're like, Google is kicking ass now.
Yeah,
you got to
let's
step
keep him.
down, bro.
Yeah.
Only 8 years.
Right.
It's like the only gig where when you're really, it has so much power. We're like, you just can't keep running this. You got to give up the reins.
Wow.
Like everybody has to give up the reins. We never let the best person run it forever. Like you would think, once Clinton got a head of steam under him, just feed his carnal desires and just.
No, it's like quarterback.
Right.
You're only going to have a few good years, seasons.
Right. But how many years do you think the public would have kept him in? Like, see, if you had a guy like Barack Obama, how many years, if they just let him go,
Yeah.
until he doesn't want to do it anymore, until we don't want him to do it anymore, how many years do you think he could keep doing it? Man, he might be able to do it for 4 or 5 terms, maybe
Easily.
even more.
Easily.
Especially if it showed that his policies were working, because, a lot of these policies, economic policies, they take years in order to see real world benefits. Like,
Well, if you take the actual campaigning out of it, they're really only president for 2 years because it's like they're campaigning on
Yeah.
the way in and then they're campaigning on the way out. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's for all of our government. And like,
know.
we're all like, I guess, victims of that. So it's sad. But
Callan was trying to explain it the other day about the amount of time that a congressman or a senator or any politician spends raising money versus the amount of time that they spend actually doing their job. It's like it's not even close.
And it's so humbling. Their job is awesome. We see them on C-SPAN banging a gavel and making a point and handing out a medal to a soldier. And then you go see an actual political fundraiser.
Oh,
and
it's so
like,
boring.
It's like Cory Booker standing on a basement floor at Cantor's on a Sunday morning in front of, there's no glamour to it at all.
No,
like,
they
it
have to-
sucks.
they have
like
to
it's
grind.
our worst gig ever. If I took you to if we
A
had to go
fundraiser?
where the 3 of us had to show up, where politicians have to show up to raise money, you'd be screaming at your agent, going, "Are you fucking kidding me with this microphone? And there's no lights, and no one could hear me, and I'm fucking talking to a wall,
Right.
and there's no food, everyone's starving. It's like the worst."
that is, yeah, I could see that.
It's so true.
So why anybody would do this frickin' job of being of trying to. I'm gonna try to help people. Fuck you. We're gonna expose you. We're gonna beat you up. We're gonna go into all your business.
Well, Trump was the only one that did it with a built-in giant audience right from the jump. Like right from the jump, he had a giant audience of people going crazy.
He
to see
tours
it. Yeah.
on our dime.
If
He's
Hillary had
touring it
gone
right
on
now.
Real Housewives instead of the Senate, she would have been president.
Probably would have.
She had just.
Could you imagine seeing Hillary and Bill around the house? seeing
She
Bill
just got
living in
super
fear?
famous for just being a lady instead of being a
Yeah.
politician.
That's true. She probably would have in some ways, right? She was almost like hindered by the fact that she was Bill Clinton's wife. If she was just a senator by herself and a lawyer
Right.
who became a senator, she probably would have way more of a shot of winning. Same person, right?
People always say, what did Trump do for the working man? He entertained them. Like, that show is great. People love that show.
It's true.
Even now, don't you click on the stories first?
What?
You don't go to you're not reading about the genocide in Rwanda. You're reading the Trump like accidentally spelled something wrong. That's the top news story.
That's our
Well, and lately there's all these new charges being brought up that I didn't know about, and new people are getting arraigned, and it's like watching a crazy
That's a
drama.
separate show.
We have very short attention span in this country, and like we expect results, and that's why in the news cycle the way it is now, it's like have you ever been in a hotel where you'll watch, like, for some reason you're caught in like the 3 or 4 hour news cycle where you see the same story and whatever, and then there's like one more detail, and then they'll like start it up again, and you're like, wow, any minute I'm gonna get a phone call because now I could be a panelist. I know everything They're like, we figured it out. He was wearing shoes. But
you still watch TV news shows though. You don't fuck around online.
Dave knows every show. Dave knows every show.
I like the. I like watching the whole day like cycle. Like I just think it's especially when it's something like an event that's happening and you get to see them figuring it out, because they can't wait to know this whole story now because it has to be immediate. So you get to see them like start it, and it's like it's really like it's like going to journalism school almost. You're like, oh, okay, something bad happened here, and then.
Like they're working on their bits.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to introduce them like where breaking news. We've been told. They don't know exactly what the fuck's going on.
That's definitely like, my mom, she has some memory issues and stuff like that. But like waiting till 6 o'clock to find out what happened in the world, like those days are over. Can you imagine if we did that? Like that's a new rule,
Those days are over. Like I remember when the
like how did we get through the whole day?
Right? How did we get through the? I remember when the Challenger blew up. What they used to do back in the day, they would interrupt.
Yes, and that was exciting.
Interrupt. Yes, big.
We have some terrible news in the world of entertainment. We have to pause the game Howard, I was sitting on the bed with my dad watching Monday Night Football, and Cosell just changed his mood all of a sudden.
Oh, right.
The music, Beatles legend, John Lennon. And I thought he said Jack Lemmon. John Lennon was assassinated outside his apartment. And that's like, you remember broadcasting Howard Cosell announcing something, or when the moon launch took off. There's no moment now where you're like, I remember a certain broadcaster announcing a certain thing.
No, you hear one version of it, but then you hear so many versions of it, you forget which one you heard first. Like I remember when I saw the Twin Towers fell. Yeah. When I saw it the first time I saw it on television, I didn't know. I don't know who said it. I don't know who was giving the newscast. Doesn't even register. They just have to be believable.
That was definitely a local news moment, because I was in New York and my mom goes, turn on the TV, and then we could see the coverage right there. So it's like that was before the web, where you could go like, okay, I'm going to get deeper into this. It was like waiting on the next bit of information. So
I was laying in bed in New York, and I found out from the great newscaster Ralphie May, who was screaming into my answering machine, calling me the N-word. Wake up! Because he knew I was flying out of New York that day, and he was in L.A. and he's like, turn on the TV, and it was just him yelling into my answering machine. It was like entered my dream, and I kind of heard sirens in the back of my dream because all the ambulances are running down Broadway, and I turned it on just to see the second tower fall down. But Ralphie, he was my Walter Cronkite. Shout out to Ralphie. Miss that guy.
We lost a lot of good ones this year. Sean Rouse. Yeah. Yes. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Sean was like a great opener of mine. He was so funny.
Man. Great guy.
I always saw him in weird places with Dave. You guys were pals.
Yeah, he was really good. And, right out of Texas. And he was such a good guy.
He was out of that Houston area.
Yeah.
Right? Houston.
He was
back
such
in
a
those
good joke
days,
rider.
There was a lot of that old laugh stop in River Oaks.
Yeah.
There was a lot of great comics. Those local guys, they had quality local comics. Like you would do a set there, and the guys who would open for you, you'd be like, holy shit, you guys are funny.
And you remember like the whole myth of the Texas Outlaws? Like I used to eat that up. I was like, tell me another story. I want to hear another story.
That was Hicks and Kinnison, really, and
then
Carl LeBeau and
Jimmy Pineapple.
Jimmy Pineapple.
Right?
I worked with Jimmy Pineapple first time I ever did that club there. Great guy, funny dude too.
Yeah, those guys Did
you ever see Jimmy? Jeff Ross?
I never saw Jimmy Pineapple. I don't think I even heard of him till this
Funny
moment.
dude. He was one of the outlaws, the early outlaws with Schubert. When Schubert used to go on the road with him too. You know, Marin was one of the guys that was with him in town.
I didn't know that.
How did you become one of the Texas comedy outlaws?
How do you
what
become
was
one?
It was like a group
What
of
was
like
the-
these wild comics down in.
There he is.
There he
There's
is.
Jimmy Pineapple.
Good-looking
What a
guy.
Glorious
He
mustache.
would bring his own microphone.
Funny dude, though. I don't want to put any of his stuff out there. Go
I
listen to it.
gotta watch that.
Good guy, though, too. I've worked
Yeah.
with him. It was really nice.
James Pineapple.
That was when I
Right when we were-
first worked that club.
I love that club. That was a great
that was
one.
one of the greatest rooms of all time, man. I did my Warner Brothers CD there in 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, that fucking club was so hot. It was packed, tight ceiling, wild motherfuckers, Texas people. Wild Texas people.
I love
Yeah.
Texas
Woo!
comedy shows.
Just chaos, drinking, good times, fun, nice people that are smart, but that also like to get fucked up.
Absolutely.
Are you in Texas this weekend?
Oh,
I don't know where I am yet.
You don't know where you are?
I'm waiting to hear on my schedule. But
Because you have a phone. that you
exactly,
have to
yeah,
flip
it's
open.
buffering. But
I actually took Dave to a phone store.
Yeah.
You know, we were preparing for the tapings, and he never texted me back. And I'm like, we're walking by this, and I'm like, just come in and look. And he literally looks at the iPhone like it's the enemy of the people.
I have multiple
You held it with
phones.
disdain.
I have an iPhone also.
The guy goes, you could do anything on this. You could text, you can make a point, you could do anything, you could
You're
write
giving away
jokes, you
the
could
show.
record your shows. And Dave goes, should we really play God?
I had a couple of good lines. But I don't go past an iPhone 2. I feel like, that's pushing it. Because now it's like up to 10, right?
You have an iPhone 2?
How many iPhones compared to...
Jamie burst.
How many
He couldn't even
iPhones
contain
compared
his
to how many
laughter.
Rocky movies are there?
How many Rocky movies are there now? Because
Seven?
Dave is on the
Oh, Creed.
Are
Mr. T.
Creed's Rockies? Because now we have Dos Creeds. The second
think-
Creed is act now.
I guess it is because it's working off of the actual narrative of Rocky.
Do you hear Michael B. Jordan is talking about boxing Roy Jones Jr.?
Yeah, I thought that was a
cool.
joke.
Oh, God, I hope it's a joke.
Just straight up boxing, not like a
Yeah.
Muay Thai?
Listen, don't do that, Michael. Just don't do that. I'm sure he's a great athlete. He's a beautiful kid. He's got a great body. Looks like he knows how to box. When he throws punches, it looks like he really actually knows how to box. I'm sure he's a really good athlete. He's built like a brick shithouse.
Right.
But boxing Roy Jones Jr. is a preposterous
You don't know how to
idea.
get
What's
hit.
the upside? You never work again, or you become a boxer?
You hang in there with him and you look like a hero. I mean, you clip him and hurt him. I mean, it is a humanly possible thing.
Right.
Like when two people are throwing punches at each other, that one of them can hit the other guy.
But the
Especially if he's
downside is just ruined.
Roy Jones Jr. is one of the greatest boxers of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and still to this day knows how to box. It's not like he forgot.
How old is he?
He's pushing 50.
49.
Yeah, he's pushing 50.
Do you think
And
someone
he's
challenged
still in
him? Whose idea was it?
I think he was just talking shit. He was just probably being asked, like, who would you like to box? Who's your hero? I
How
think
many
it was that
rounds,
thing.
though?
Exactly
Do they
what
have
I
to go a
just read.
certain
Oh, there you
amount?
go. What did
So
what
was
exactly
just
happened?
Like that. He said he asked him who would you want to fight today, and he said Roy Jones. He would probably beat me in his prime, but I'd probably fight him today. It's probably just like that.
Oh, that is
so.
an outrageous thing to say.
Just an asshole thing to say.
It's
Like I
just-
says to George Foreman.
Listen, he probably would kill you in his prime. I mean, the idea that he would just beat you. I mean, Roy Jones Jr., when he was in his prime, you were just waiting to see. He was in a Nas song. They said Roy Jones is in the new Mike Tyson's Roy Jones. This is like in the 1990s. People forgot how good Roy Jones Jr. was. He was putting his hands behind his back and then knocking people out. He was doing ridiculous shit. He knocked out light heavyweight champion Virgil Hill with a body shot.
Do you want to hear it so we can hear the context?
Okay.
Because it's only a
Sure, let's listen to it.
So I heard that you, after all your training for the Creed movies, you can hold your own in a fight.
I mean, I can do my thing a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I've been working out with Rocky, been working out with, like Apollo Creed. I've been doing my thing.
Absolutely. So
Apollo Creed.
now, who all time would you want to step into the ring with? Whether it's a boxer, wrestler, UFC
Man.
fighter, anybody?
Like Roy Jones, bro.
Roy Jones?
Roy Jones, that's my dude, bro.
You think you can hold your own?
I feel like I can do my thing a little bit.
Yeah?
I can hold my thing right now, but in his prime, nah, he'll probably knock my ass out. But like right now, I can do my thing.
Why answer that question?
That's
Yeah,
well.
just
Listen,
answered it.
he was.
Hey, Joe, were you funnier than George Carlin in his prime? Can you just
well,
answer that
right
in the middle of a
right
street
now,
right
I can
now?
do my thing right now since he did.
I know you've had a few drinks in the restaurant. Can I ask you the
Coke.
worst question?
I'm gonna
and
tell
you-
you something right now. I'm on cocaine. Let me answer some questions. I'll fuck Roy Jones Jr. up.
But he said he was training with Rocky. That was the best part.
And Apollo Creed. Yeah.
He doesn't even know their names.
He doesn't know. The old dude.
The white guy and the black guy.
I mean, I loved him in Black Panther, too. He's awesome. He plays a good superhero.
He's a great actor. I love his movies.
He was a good bad guy in that movie. But, you know, like, it's like, you just shouldn't answer that. Just made a mistake. Yeah. You know, young, cocky, full of life. Everything's going well. You know, and again, built like a goddamn superhero. Probably thinks he could box the world. There's just a different thing that's going to be happening if you're standing in front of Roy Jones Jr. It's a different thing. He's got a computer that's many times more robust than yours when it comes to boxing.
But just taking the punishment, it's not like, you know, it's like, okay, that's enough.
What if Roy Jones just gives you a concussion and you never act again?
God.
What's the upside for you?
He can tee up on
By the way, a 50-year-old boxer looks at this actor, Pretty Boy, and it's when they brought what's his name out of the box in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. I mean, he's jacked, though. Look at him. Dude's built like a superhero. But see, the thing is, like, there's such a giant difference between learning how to box and being a good athlete, like he clearly is, and being Roy Jones Jr. The gap is so wide. It's like if I did a movie about playing basketball and then I wanted to, you know, play a one-on-one versus Kobe Bryant. You know, I've been playing this movie for a couple years, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, even though I never did any competitive basketball playing.
Like you were in the White Shadow
It looks like he got beat up. It's like
he's a movie. He's a movie star, bro.
He's got fake blood on his welts.
That was in the movie. I'm sure he knows how to throw his hands. I'm sure he does. He looks good in the movies. He looks like he really knows what he's doing. But Roy Jones Jr. is one of the greatest of all time. He was a phenom. He knows how to box in a way that you're never going to understand.
So how long has he been since he boxed? 10 years?
I mean, Roy Jones had a fight within the last 2 years. I think his last fight was, I want to say it was less than 2 years ago. I think he retired. He had a bunch of fights over in Russia. He actually became a Russian citizen.
This year?
Is that it?
This year.
This year. Jesus
February.
Christ. Play some of it.
Oops.
So he's not just challenging a retired boxer.
Dude,
he's challenging a boxer.
He's fucking Roy Jones Jr., all right? Just this is a different thing. It's one thing if you're like a top-level pro right now and you feel like you would have got knocked out by Roy in his prime, but you can give him a go right now. Okay, that's believable. You're a professional boxer. You've been honing your craft in the gym for years and years. You've been sparring and working with high-level coaches. Look at him. He's still Roy Jones Jr., Still Roy Jones Jr., even though he's 40. I mean,
he's still boxing.
Man.
It doesn't matter.
He's boxing and
one's
looking
an actor,
good.
one's a boxer.
But Roy Jones is in a boxing match here, and he's looking good. Right. I mean, he's obviously not fighting a guy who's the best in the world.
So if you're Roy Jones Jr., do you call your agent right now?
Yeah, he's already been saying it.
See if the kid's serious.
What's the money?
I'll do it.
He's already been doing all these interviews. He said, like, I don't want to get out of bed early in the morning, but if he wants to really do this, we could do this. I mean, for Roy Jones, it'd be a wonderful opportunity to show people what boxing is all. Oh, let me see what he said.
I would love to see that.
Here, let's hear what Roy says.
Of course, I saw the video. First thing is, I never ducked a fight in my life. I don't duck nothing, right?
Never.
I ain't run from hurricane when they come down here. So I ain't running from nobody. If Michael B wants this for real, contact Roy Jones Jr. and we will make it happen.
Yeah, see?
You got my number, he can contact you and get my number. So there's no question about how can I find. No, you know how to find Roy.
I've already apologizing.
Get Roy's number from TMC. Let's make it happen.
Roy, now he said in the video, I think he would probably have killed me back in his prime.
True. That's true.
How about now, though? Do you actually give him any chance to beat you now, even though you are 49, Roy?
I know he can't beat me still because. I know he's probably in better condition because he's younger, and though he can probably think he can go longer, and probably thinks he may be able to even outwork me now. But I'm a vet. I'm an old school vet.
That's right.
Old school vet ain't going out like that. To have the heart to come in the ring with me, I love it. You understand me? So I want him to understand what boxing is. So I'm not out there to just take him out right away because then you don't get the experience of the boxing match. I'm a professional like I am, and I know he's big and strong because he got stronger for the movie. Then I should be able to avoid all that. Take him in the deep water so he understands what a boxing match really is.
Yeah,
he comes out, he don't go out and say, "Oh, I got knocked out the first round."
He
so
wouldn't give his whole.
No. I'm not letting you off that easy. I'm gonna need 5 or 6 rounds at you, so I want you to see how it really feels. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm talking like that, not because I think he can really match my skills. I really don't, even at 49.
How long would you need, Roy, to get right to where you could step in there? Like, what's the soonest we could make this fight happen?
I probably need, for him, about 4 or 5 weeks.
Dude,
It's on.
listen.
It's on.
Michael, please listen to me. Don't do this.
Someone call StubHub.
Just don't do this. This is not going to work out well, especially if they're. I would assume both of them are not going to be drug tested. If I had to guess, I don't think either one of them wants to pee in a bucket. And if they just let Roy go to Dr. Feelgood and pump him up with hormones, this is going to be a rout. This would be terrifying.
Imagine
this is
Michael
a new
getting that call from his agent. Hey, we have an offer for you to do this like new superhero movie. It's gonna be amazing. And Michael's like, I'm booked that whole 5 weeks.
Yeah, I got it for 5 weeks. I got to train for Roy Jones Jr. Like, don't do it.
But this is a new genre of TV show of the real guy versus the guy who played it in the movie.
Well,
I want to see doctors against guys who played a doctor. I want to see astronauts against guys who would think they're an astronaut. I want to see it all.
Hanks versus John Glenn.
Yeah.
Navy SEAL from a movie versus real Navy SEAL.
Dinosaur versus chicken. I want to see it.
Isn't that what Mark Wahlberg said if he was on the plane? It wouldn't land down?
Spy versus.
Did he really say that though?
Yeah.
That's what everybody says. That he
I
said.
don't know.
I never heard him say that.
It's
Did he
a
say that?
funny
Is that
thing
what
to
he said?
think.
It's a crazy thing to think. You know, who knows what the fuck you would do if you thought that you were just going to land somewhere. You know, that's the idea, is that you knew what was going to happen before it happened. Nobody knows. Well, while that shit's going down, someone's got box cutters. They're holding they're holding a stewardess by the neck. Like, you don't know what the fuck's happening. You have no idea what's going on.
You're afraid to move.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of people would step up, but it could potentially cost that person their life. And then when the plane lands, that person's dead. When they if you don't know, right? You don't know the actual scenario. Now, obviously, we know it was a horrible thing, and you should do whatever you can to stop them because they're going to kill everybody no matter what. But back then, you didn't know. I mean, if someone just took the plane and landed it, and the stewardess lived,
didn't know. That's right.
You would be like, glad I didn't do anything. He jumped up and he cut her face off.
Yeah.
It's like in those moments when you don't know what's going to happen. He said, if I was on that plane, okay, if with my kids, it wouldn't have went down like it did. There would have been a lot of blood in that first class cabin, then me saying, okay, we're going to land somewhere safely. Don't worry.
Oh.
See, I see where he's coming from, right? He's got kids that he loves. He's got a family that he loves.
He wouldn't have sat still. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And in his mind, he probably has that conviction.
Even if it meant
The thing
ruining
is,
everybody's life.
would it work? If it didn't work, like, what do they have? Do you know what they have?
They don't know.
You know they have a box cutter. Do they have anything else? How many of them are there?
You don't know, like.
Yeah. Is anybody going to back you up? Does anybody else know how to fight? You could get fucked up. You could step up thinking you're Billy Badass, and this guy is some trained martial artist who smashes your face in and cuts you up with a box cutter. That could happen too.
And still pulls his belt off and blows the plane up.
It could. Who the fuck knows, man? That's why there's professionals, right? That's where there's those air marshals that can assess the situation and figure out. And obviously, they weren't either they weren't there on that plane or they couldn't help.
I got chills thinking about it if I was in that position.
How could you? I mean, who the fuck knows what you would do?
Well, since I look like I'm on the other team, I would have said, my friend, come over here.
Imagine fucking it up.
my friend.
They're like, come on, get up and do your... I'm like, I'm not part of the team.
Dave, do your foreign guy thing.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, you'd be, have you ever been so scared that you're frozen instant for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't know what the right thing to do is. And the wrong thing can be so catastrophic, right? You don't know. You don't know what to do or
Plus
what
he
not
went
to
as
do.
far as to say, like, that he's making announcements on the plane.
Yeah.
When this is all happening, like, we're landing safe, like, he's now the pilot.
In the movies, he gets to be a hero, right?
That's true,
In the movie, you get to grab the intercom at the end
Yeah.
and go, thanks for flying so-and-so air.
Sometimes you say things like that because that's how you feel. And you don't think about how other people are going to perceive it. That's what I would assume that statement is. That's how he felt. Like, fuck that. I'm landing this fucking plane. I'm going to kill these fucking terrorists. Yeah.
Right. That's what he told his kids one night.
The problem is you're saying that to billions of people. And billions of people hear that and they go, what? And then all these people get to assess your statement, whether or not it makes any sense. Like, what are you going to do? You going to kick everybody's ass?
Right.
Okay. You sure? I know a lot of dudes who, if they were there and you tried to do that, you'd get smashed.
Right.
Like, there's scary people in this world.
Holding weapons on a
I would assume if you're ready to die like that, you have a very strange kind of conviction, too. If you know you're ready to die and you know how to fight, like, woof. Jesus. Who knows? But it's like, just the idea that you would have to think about it. That's what's really terrifying.
What do you mean?
The idea that you would have to think, like, what do I do if someone does hijack a plane?
Don't we all think that?
Yeah.
Every situation now, there's that.
What we do?
What happens?
What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? So you hear people run and they survive, and then people run and get shot down, and they go the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime a tragedy like that happens, like, what the fuck? Horrific, random set of sequences, and you're in the wrong spot.
You do the right heroic. How about how many people must do the heroic thing and then they die anyway? You never know about it.
Oh, for sure.
I wonder what Uncle Steve did in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of.
It seems like those fucking things are happening more and more lately.
All the
I don't
time.
know if is the rate more accelerated now than it's ever been before, as well as the numbers of these like shootings and shit. It's like, what is happening? Like, what the fuck is going on that this keeps happening? And they happen like every couple of days. There's like a little one, like a 2 or 3 people one.
Right.
It's just like not that big a deal anymore.
Well, that's what it was when it was about knives and swords. People would go on a killing spree.
Yeah.
But now it's you kill more people, and you know not everybody would die with a knife.
London has a bunch of knife attacks. London has so many knife attacks that their murder rate exceeded New York City's murder rate with just knives.
Wow.
Oh, Google that. Make sure it's true.
The machete attack.
The fucking president or the mayor of the mayor of London was saying something that they won't tolerate knives anymore. Can't have knives.
Sounds better.
I know, but everybody's like, what?
In New York,
Taking away knives.
you have a guy who's off his meds and he's just like walking around with a hammer, so it could happen. It doesn't really matter what the weapon is.
Okay. London has overtaken New York for murders for the first time in modern history after a surge of knife crimes across the capital. Verdict, though, selective use of statistics from the start of 2018 appeared to bear this out, but the reality is that New York still appears to be more violent than London.
Yes.
Huh. That was written by a New Yorker. That was written by a New Yorker.
New York is so
proud.
back right now, man. New York's on fire. It's great.
You love it?
It's great. I haven't been there as much in the last few weeks, but when I'm there, all summer I was there.
You're a bi-coastal guy, though. You're a freedom guy.
Yeah.
I love the way you're living your life. You just fly here, you fly there.
Have you been to his houses? Or have you been to them?
No, but I've seen photos of the pool.
The LA one is awesome. The New York one is like, I don't know.
Dump?
You can tell like he doesn't live there,
Oh, I see.
It's like a crash pad, but it's
a nice place. I'm not saying it isn't a place, but it's an old school New York building with the elevator. With the guy has to use, the elevator
I live
operator
in
guy.
an old, fancy, snobby Fifth Avenue co-op.
Nice.
Hello, Mr. Ross.
Yeah,
Nice.
they're not snobby. They're not snobby, but I had to go through a co-op interview. Buddy Hackett wrote my recommendation.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
New York, it's all rules. So many permits. Oh God.
LA is tricky. There's shootings. There's fires. That's why that caravan turned back.
Is that one? Did you see the photos of people like running towards the border and gas coming at them, and the whole idea of like knowing that there's a big group of people headed towards the border? I'm like, what is this? Like, what's going on here? What's
people
everybody?
are fleeing.
Yeah.
They're terrified. Imagine what they are leaving to come to that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No.
Imagine what's at home.
But it's like
Who's playing Honduras?
It's crazy that it's all like this planned out event. Like everybody's watching the migration
slowly
headed toward the border.
Has this ever happened before?
Yeah, there was something that someone posted about Obama in 2013. During the Obama administration, it wasn't like Obama was hucking tear gas over the fence, but somebody during that administration appeared to have used tear gas on an illegal immigrant as well. But it wasn't. I don't think it was this kind of thing. This kind of thing seems like
it's like the Cuban boat lift. Like that's what
weird.
I felt like about it. It's like they're fleeing, like a despot or
Yeah.
It's political and economic.
It's everything. I mean, they want to come to the promised land like all of our ancestors did. That's why we're here. But then we got to a point where like, nah.
I don't think it's just about they want to come here. It's about what's at home that they got to get away from.
Yes.
And now with the internet and information, they go, wow, maybe we don't have to be in this gang.
Sure.
Maybe I can get my kid out when he's 3 instead of watching him die at 15.
Yeah, and have opportunity. I mean, that's what everybody wanted that came here in the first place. It's just, at this point, if you're a poor person from Guatemala, I mean, how hard is it to immigrate to America? If you don't have any skills, you have a very short education, it's got to be really fucking hard to become a U.S. citizen. Probably super difficult.
Well, you got to be super brave.
I would go
you got to learn another language to really
Yeah.
figure out how to get through all the other countries and into America. You don't have to learn it, but it certainly helps if you want to thrive.
I would go to Costa Rica. Have you been down there?
Love it.
Yeah, like everybody I know who's been there, they're like, this is the place. Like, I'm going to move here after I retire. So, that might be like a good second place.
A guy offered me weed, girls, and coke in front of my daughter while I was holding her hand. I was like, damn.
And surf lessons.
It's like, damn.
Everybody there is a professional surfer.
On the beach, man. The guy's like, what you want, girls? You want coke? I'm like, yo, bro, I'm holding a 5-year-old's hand. This is outrageous.
She's like,
Back
Coke,
to school.
friends? It all sounds great.
Back to school discount.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Dude is offering me cocaine, like right there. What you need?
Jeez.
Monkeys are everywhere, man.
Really?
Everywhere you go, monkeys. It's fucking. They eat Oreos. They open them up and chew the white part first. Yeah, they eat so many Oreos that they know how to pop them open. They chew that white shit.
Wow, like a shell.
Yeah, we were concerned. We were like, should we really give the monkey a cookie? I mean, cookies are toxic. It's all sugar. We gave the monkey. The monkey took that thing, popped the top. Chewing that white stuff. I was like, damn, that monkey probably lives on a steady diet of Oreos. Wow. Because the Oreos are in the mini bar at the hotel, and the monkey's right there. And you're like, yeah, I'm an Oreo, man. I want to see him
They
happy.
have no fear of people. Just
no, they have a little bit of fear. There's a little bit of apprehension. They definitely size you up because I'm sure they run into dickhead humans. You know, and they're fucking dangerous, man. I mean, if they decide to fuck you up, they can hurt you. They can claw your face apart. They can bite you.
Yeah.
They can really do damage if they're especially if they decided to act as a group. But they don't. They just seem to be interested.
I had a
in
monkey
getting
swing
food.
at me once on a TV set, and I'll never forget it. I'll never go near another one.
Swing your face.
Yeah, just I don't know. Oof. I was holding its hand. We were entering. I was hosting a Gong Show pilot 1,000,000 years ago, and I was entering with a fucking chimp, holding his hand. We were in matching tuxedos, and I got along with him all day, rehearsals, and then when that band kicked in and the lights were in the rolling and the audience was cheering. Yeah, he really, I don't know if he was asking for more money or what the fuck was going on.
That makes sense, man. It probably hurt his ears. Probably was so confused. All the people there. Doesn't speak your language. Doesn't know what the fuck you're saying, right?
Right.
Wow.
I have a good monkey story. Nobody has any good one. I do. Like where I was on another TV show and they had the monkey.
Yeah.
And they go, hey, like whatever, Clarabelle, whatever your name is. They're like, this is Dave. Shake hands. And the monkey didn't even stop hugging the person. Just let the foot come up, and I shook their foot because their feet are like hands. And I was like, how cool is that? I couldn't get over it. I was like, if you could shake hands with your feet. Like, wouldn't you do it all the time? It's like, oh, hey, what's up? Okay, so I can keep doing my other stuff. Yeah, like, not a bump.
Feet.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool. I just shook feet hands.
They're versatile.
Yeah, all right. Maybe it's not that great a story, but I still think that's a good monkey story. That's a win for both.
I like communication.
But then, parrots, of course. We can talk about it all night.
People who keep parrots as pets and then they die because parrots live to be like 90 years old.
Yes, they do.
So you get some old lady's parrot that's still got 60 years left in it.
Yeah,
like,
and they're racist. Who wants them?
Full fucking tank. That parrot's got a full tank. And you're going to take that thing.
And now he's got a...
Keep screaming, take your pills. Take your pills.
At you. They just always want attention. They're weird.
Really?
Man. Yeah, they want to sit right on your shoulder or in your hand. They want you to open up the cage and talk to them. They want to be around you all the time. Parrots are smart, man. They do not like to get just left alone. If you think you're going to be some asshole as a cute bird sitting in the cage in the middle of your living room, oh, that's my parrot. I'm interesting. No, that parrot needs you. Hey. Get over here, bitch.
Oh, that's right.
They want attention. Like, come on, motherfucker. I don't want to just sit in this cage. Let me out. Let's walk around. I'm gonna sit on your shoulder.
Put on a nose.
Come on, let's see what's on TV. Come on, I'm fucking bored. Parrots are smart, man. The reason why I mean, they're not smart.
I didn't know they lived that long.
They live a long ass time. A long ass time. Yeah.
Are they smarter or dumber than owls?
That's a good question.
Dave has theories on this.
I'm always in search of the next owl joke. That's my big thing.
Well, we know that ravens are really smart. They're super smart. They solve puzzles and shit. Like scientists have set up all these puzzles for ravens where they'll take a stick and then use the stick to get a longer stick and then use that stick to get get the food out. Like multi-step, like problem solving. Ravens can do weird shit, but and we know that a bunch of other different birds are pretty fucking smart. But I don't know.
My hawks. I have hawks in my neighborhood.
They're smart.
Who fly right over my house all the time, and they're fascinating to watch. They really like to show off.
Yeah, I would assume that all those predators have to be smart. I mean, they have to be ruthless and smart, to get along. If you're out there picking up squirrels and rats and shit like they're doing, they're just firebombing out of the sky, snatching things up
from angles that only they understand.
My friend Tom was in his backyard, sitting down, having a cup of coffee, and he saw a dove land on top of his fence, and then out of nowhere, this hawk just jacked that dove.
Wow.
Boom! He said it was like a big explosion of feathers. That the hawk just swooped in, going like 150 miles an hour.
Wow.
Snatched the dove right off it and took off
Full
with it.
tilt.
And he was just sitting there with his coffee in his hand, like, "What the fuck?"
Wow.
He goes like 10 yards from my head. It just
If I
all
was
went
that
down.
dove, I would have kicked that fucking bird's fucking ass.
Kick
He would have
that
landed
fucking hawk's
safely.
ass.
I would have landed safely back on your buddy's fence.
I told everybody, fuck hawks.
If I was a dove with kids, what do his kids have to do with being on the plane?
Well, that would make him motivated. He's a protector.
dad.
I see.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
he probably knows how to fight a little bit too. It looks like he does.
Yeah,
he
he
looks
does
like he
all that.
does in that movie play Mickey Ward. Looks
Yeah.
like he knows how to box. He definitely knows how to throw punches. This Michael B. Jordan thing is fascinating to me because
He'll listen to
Put
you.
money on it.
I hope he does.
Someone will tell him.
I'm sure he's a smart guy, and I'm sure he's a great athlete, and I'm sure he probably knows how to box a little bit. But if you got to box a guy like Roy Jones, you know what you do? You start in the amateurs and you learn how to box,
That'd be
and then
cool.
you become a professional.
That'd be cool.
And then one day you box Roy Jones
Like
Jr.
Paul Newman in the race cars.
Sort of,
Yeah.
but you're not getting hit. See, the very unique thing about combat sports is you're getting hit.
Yeah.
So it's not like someone's dunking on you. Like if you play basketball with Kobe Bryant, you're going to get lit up. You're going to look like a fool, but you're not going to get hit. If you box with Roy Jones Jr., you're going to get hit.
You're gonna get hit.
You're going to get dinged. And Michael B. Jordan got knocked out during the Creed filming. With an accidental punch that landed. Where
Really?
Where they were hitting him and he tried to like turn his head at the last minute, but he didn't turn it quick enough and he got clipped and dropped.
Maybe that's why
Wow.
he knows he can take a punch now.
Well, I mean,
Maybe that's giving him the confidence.
he did it on purpose. See, he was like, I think the way it was is like you take the punch, then you turn your head, but it looked like he took the punch just a little too hard. That's real, right?
But do you think they're
it's
even
real,
using
but I think-
real
I think-
gloves there? They're not using
No,
regulation.
they were using boxing gloves.
Oh,
like
okay.
real
This
10-ounce
could be
boxing
just
gloves.
an
Could it be
acting.
bullshit?
I love those Creed movies, and
They might have
Rocky's my
done.
all-time
See
favorite.
something like this, you don't know if it's like some
Publicity
hyped up
stunt?
thing they do for a publicity stunt. Like, watch this though. See, they're practicing it like this. See right there? No, see, that's real, dude.
Yeah.
That's real. See the way his head snaps and his eyes go. Play that again. That's real. I know what a real knockout looks like. I've seen 1,000 of them in person. That's a real knockout. Watch this. Look at this. He fucked up, and he's zigging.
But he's out.
Yeah,
You
he's
see
out
that?
cold, dude. He's out cold, 100%. Watch this. He ran right into the punch. His head snapped back. His eyes rolled behind his head, and he went unconscious.
Yeah, but
that is 100% a legit knockout.
But that punch was not even a punch. What he was hit with, he
He
didn't
made
have
a
his body
mistake.
behind it. He didn't have any power behind it. So he was basically knocked out
By a-
just by coincidence.
No,
almost. You know what I'm saying?
there's definitely power behind it.
You think so?
Yes,
Doing
yes, yes,
this?
yes. Listen, you could KO someone easily just doing that. Easily.
Really?
That was a perfect punch. It was a perfect punch that landed on his jaw jaw as he was moving forward. That's the key. The key is that he was turning his head into it, and he didn't think it was coming, and he took it right on the jaw. If you watch
Let's see
one
it
more
again,
time.
because I didn't see any
This
hip
guy,
or any
what he's
any of
doing
that.
is they're choreographing how the sequence is going to go, and somewhere along the line, either is a miscalculation or a mistake was made
So this is a
by Michael
rehearsal
B.
tape.
Jordan. Watch this right here. See that he fucked up and
He
he
turned
turned
into
it.
Yep.
And that guy is throwing like, I mean, even though it's not
Yeah.
the most powerful punch in the world,
It's faster than I thought.
and he knows how to punch. Okay, so his weight is behind that, his shoulders behind that. That's a guy who's punched people in the face before.
Right.
He knows exactly how to do it. So even
I
though
was
he's only
mistaken.
doing it like this, even though he's only doing that,
So
if
how
you
did that-
run into it and he catches
Of
you right in the
course.
chin, you're going out.
Of course.
That's what happened.
So why did that get leaked? Jeez.
I don't know if it got leaked or if they put it out on purpose.
I think they put it out to show that
I think they
it's-
probably put it out to show like this is hard training they're doing for this, and there was an accident on the set and he got knocked out.
That would be not the clip I'd want out there if I was him.
But if he turns into
obviously
it like that,
that's
then
very. And he was younger then. He's bigger and stronger now. He's older. His body's more mature. But either way,
Oh, I see.
it's
So
like
that was an
if
old.
you want to box Roy Jones
That's
Jr.,
from the first one.
you got to become a career boxer. I mean, this is unless he's like so old
But why?
that he can't take
Roy
a punch
knows
anymore.
he's not going to do it, or he would never have given up his strategy like that, saying, "I need him 5-6 rounds."
No.
He said,
That's just shit talking.
he's saying he's
Roy
gonna,
Jones did that his whole career. He
gonna
would
take a
tell you
beating.
exactly how he was going to beat guys. His whole career,
Really?
Yeah, he's still Roy Jones Jr. This is crazy talk. Like him saying
he should
that.
have just
like,
played dumb and be like,
No,
"I
no,
guess
no.
maybe he's good. I'll do it."
That's not what he would do. He would say, "This is how I'm going to do it," and then he would go out and do it. Say, I'm going to need you to get tired out and see what it feels like to be in a real fight.
you take a beating.
Yeah, man. Look, if
Psych
Roy
him out.
Jones Jr. just gets you into the third, fourth, and fifth round, and all your adrenaline dump is gone because you're not used to boxing, a world-class boxer in a professional match that's on pay-per-view that millions of people are watching. You're not used to that experience. So that experience is taxing. It's nerve-wracking. You're going to have all this adrenaline rush through your body, even if you're the chillest of chill dudes.
Sure.
You're going to be just a little bit too amped up.
Right.
So then around that second round comes in, you start heaving, and you can't breathe that good, and you're just kind of like, Roy's just kind of boxing you. He's just boxing you. He's not hurting you. He's just boxing you. Occasionally you get stung a little bit. Then the third round moves in, and he starts moving left and right and coming in, stinging you hard, the jab, and stepping in with a lead hand uppercut, and you're like, oh, fuck. And yeah, now you're getting teed off on, and now he's talking, and he's dancing, he's moving around, and then he just starts throwing bombs on you, and you can't defend him because you're exhausted, and he hooks you to the liver and drops you.
You start
And
running around trying to get away from
he
him.
can't get away. He's too good. He's been doing it for too long.
But Jones said that he says, yeah, he probably could go long and hard on me because he's all trained up. But do you think he would come at him like full tilt in the first round or two and just like really like take him to school, like
That's so
beat him
dangerous.
down?
That's so dangerous because when you get real aggressive is when you get hit. Because when you get real aggressive, see, if I know you're coming at me, you're running at me. All I have to do is figure out how much time and space I need to get something off as you're coming at me. Because I know where you're going. It's dangerous when you don't know if someone's coming or going. When you don't know if they're coming or going, that's when a fight is weird. So the beginning of every fight, people are feeling each other out. They don't know if someone's coming or going. If I know that you're just running at me and I'm Roy Jones Jr., I'm going to step back and I'm going to time it and I'm going to crack you. And I'm going to crack you in a way that you probably don't see coming. You probably don't see it in the gym too much. I'm just going to stiff arm you with a jab, pop you in place, step to the left, boom! He's going to drop a right hand on your chin. He's going to fuck you up. And then he's going to turn around. He's going to be behind you. And he's going to look at you to see if you're still okay. And then he's going to do it again. And he's going to keep doing it. And if you keep chasing after him, you're going to still get fucked. You're going to get fucked up. You're going to get your face punched in. So the only other thing is to do is like you got to box him. So okay, now you're boxing one of the greatest boxers of all time, and he's gonna just figure you out. Like, what do you got? What do you do when I do this? What happens when I do this? What happens here? Could I have punched you? Oh, I could have. And then he's gonna figure out when to move and when you're gonna get tired, and he's gonna start dropping bombs on you. It's gonna be awful.
Would you have respected it if he said, "Oh, I want to box a few matches first and then get to Roy"?
I think he's just talking shit. He was just having a good time.
Yeah,
he probably didn't expect anybody to run with it. He didn't expect people to analyze it.
That's the guy who hit him in that video. This guy. He's an actual
Blake
real
Griffin?
boxer.
Oh yeah.
He knocked out David Haye before. His name's Tony Bellew.
Oh, dude, that guy's a legit boxer. He just got stopped by that badass Russian motherfucker on
look what he's
on
doing.
TV really recently. Like he's a top flight boxer. So for him to knock him out, of course, it was just he's so good, man. So for him to do it accidentally makes complete total sense.
Wow, look at the. Jeez, wow.
Yeah, that guy's a beast, man.
That's
like a legit top flight boxer. So he's in there, even just accidentally getting punched in the face by a guy.
Makes me want to see the movie. I'll tell you that. Michael Jordan talking shit makes me want to see it.
It took him to recover and get back to training and filming after that.
But it's like you never in the heavyweight class. You never saw abs until the movies. You never. It was always like.
I know, right?
You know, they were like basically punching bags. You know, now it's like they have to be so.
Tyson, you saw abs when he came out of prison. Remember that?
I guess so.
When he fought Peter McNeely, dude, he was prison jacked. That was like maybe the scariest Tyson ever. Like they finally released him, and all he'd been doing in jail
was working out.
I don't think he could box in jail, so I think he was just lifting weights. Remember, he was super duper jacked when he got out of jail.
Let's see. Can I see a picture?
He was, yeah. See, go to Tyson versus that's Tyson versus Peter McNeely. That was in 1995.
Yeah, he looks good there. Yeah,
dude, he looks really terrifying. Good. That was the most terrifying looking Tyson ever. He just looked like he was made out of steel. Just a tank of a man. Arms, and I'll never forget the fucking weigh-in, or the stare-down, rather. Because during the stare-down, Peter McNeely signed up for that fight knowing that he's a tough guy who's going to take a fucking vicious beating. That's what he signed up for. He knew what he was doing. He knew he was going to give it his all, but he knew if you had to bet, most people were not betting on Peter McNeely.
Yeah.
But you could see it in Tyson's face when he's staring him down. There's this crazy... He's following him everywhere he goes, like a predator, dude. It's like a predator who can't wait to get the green light to let the genie out of the bottle. Watch this. This is Tyson's first fight. Like, look, see Peter McNeely's kind of looking down, and you look over at Tyson. Look at his eyes following him.
Look at that.
That is fucking terrifying. If you're looking at that, and you know you're about to fight Mike Tyson, and he's smiling and trying to make light of it. Oh my God.
And he looks just like a prison guard.
Dude, he is
so easy.
Oh yeah, he does. Peter McNeely does.
That same hair.
Guard. That's prison guard hair.
After the Charlie
Green Mile hair.
Mike Tyson. I sat next
Green Mile
to. I sat next to Tyson at the Charlie Sheen roast and made a lot of jokes about him. And afterwards, Dice called me. I didn't really know Dice at the time. He called me like a couple weeks later. He's like, "Jeff, it's Dice." He's like, basically said that he couldn't believe I said those things to Mike Tyson, and like he was offended. And I go, "What do you mean? What?" He's like, "Do you have any idea what that animal could have done to you? You were 2 feet away." And then we've been friends ever since. But I didn't think about Tyson. He seemed like a pussycat at the time.
At the time. But if that was Tyson from like 1986.
I think if I watched an old fight, yeah.
Look at you.
By the end of the night, I'm literally like laughing into his lap.
Well, once
he loved it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he loved it.
He could take jokes.
Oh yeah.
But you wouldn't want to be doing that.
Imagine if I said, I don't want to piss you off, Mike. If you would do that to your face, imagine what you would do to mine.
He's basically the only celebrity to ever pull off a face mask, right? A face tattoo.
I thought
Who else has done it? What celebrity?
A few now,
Charles Manson.
Well, those mumble rapper dudes, like Post Malone type characters.
Yeah, Tekashi 69.
But he was the first by a long stretch.
And you're saying pulled off, as if he pulled that off.
He's still Mike Tyson.
By Gucci
you know what I mean? Gucci Mane? Oh, that's right. He had the ice cream cone. Was that first, though? I feel like Tyson was
Wow.
first.
That's close, probably at the same time.
Wow, that's a commitment. Look at that.
That really
I don't think Gucci has that on his face anymore. There's new pictures. It
How
looks
do you
like
get
it.
that off?
That'll get you
You
out
can
of jury
get it
duty.
removed. Yeah, they can laser that shit off. But I haven't.
But it looks like somebody
follow him on
carved that
Instagram.
into his face. It doesn't even look like a tat.
Well, that's because it's fresh. Because that's like right after it got made.
Still there.
It's still there?
Yeah, it's just not as bright.
Let me see that. See,
Now-
my man's got an ice cream cone on his face.
But now it's yogurt. It's
Is
a
that-
different time.
Is that today, though?
Yeah, he's got more tats too.
Oh, so they're all over the place. That dude's always smiling. Ever since he got out of jail, he seems like the happiest guy in the world. Sure. For real. He's got a
They
beautiful
kind of
wife.
look good on him. The tattoos look good on him.
So, but why is there ice cream like right there? Like, does he have a tongue where he's like, "Hey, look, I can look at ice cream"?
No, because then he would only be able to lick the bottom part. He wouldn't even get the real ice cream.
I would
just
put
get
the ice cream cone somewhere else.
Damn, he's got a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
It looks good though. But the pearls take some of the mean out of the
What's the
tats.
highest tattoo you have to your face?
It goes up to my shoulder. Both arms basically the same.
So you can
Go up to
see
my
all your
shoulder.
tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any other ones. Just these. No tattoos, Jeff?
I'm thinking of getting a tramp stamp. Dave and I are going to get them.
Nice.
What's yours going to say? Come on.
Mine says free Wi-Fi.
Mine's going to say too legit to shit.
I'm going with watch out, gerbil ahead.
Ari
Sorry.
Shaffir has keep on trucking tattooed on his side.
Oh, does it? In Hebrew.
No. It's his only tattoo. It's preposterous.
Keep on trucking?
Yeah.
That
Have you
makes
seen
sense.
it, Art?
I
Have you
love
seen
that.
it, Jamie? Yeah, he's got a keep on trucking tattoo. I'm right about this, right?
I don't know. I was looking for.
You know
other
who else has
face
keep on
tattoos.
trucking? Who used to have it? It was Tony Danza. He used to have like keep on trucking. That was like a thing that people used to say. They
Well,
thought
I
it was
remember.
cool.
I mean, I'm sure I had a keep on trucking patch or T-shirt
Yeah,
on my
t-shirt.
jacket.
A hat.
like, what was that? What was going on? The keep on trucking.
Hang
became
in
a-
there, baby.
That was one, right?
Keep on trucking.
But nobody had hanging. Well, I'm sure people got hanging their baby tattoos, right? Why am I saying nobody? I'm sure
Joe.
people have
Somebody.
done it. What do you got?
This is bumping my cat.
Shut the fuck up. Is that mine?
Yeah, you can put it near your Dave's old porn hat that I.
Oh wow, I don't even have one of these.
Fun, man.
Yeah, you do. I've given you 2 of them already.
Dude, that show was fun.
That was a good one, Joe. You really rocked that show.
It was fun. That was a great show. They should have never taken that off the air. Bumping mics.
Yeah, but I hope it's not a bad. Like I give him always a hat from every show. He always helps me out, and
That's
it's
very
like
thoughtful.
they go nowhere. The shows.
That's not true.
No, this one's a hit.
This is
I
gonna,
feel it, Dave.
I'm hoping.
Dave, come
This
on,
is our
man.
moment,
I don't
buddy.
believe in that kind of jinxes.
This is our moment.
This is the talk of flip phone
It's
people. You're worried about
a gypsy
voodoo.
curse. Don't give
There's
a hat out.
No.
You talk about your last special took a long time to get together. This took us
Couple of years.
Well, not even. It came together pretty quick. From Montreal to a year later, we shot it. But like, I feel like it's also like about our friendship or whatever you want to call it for 25 years. So it kind of puts a
nice button on it.
I don't know. It's the first button maybe.
What are you doing over there? You're
I'm
pouring
mixing
things
up.
into a bag.
I just don't want to leave my ashes here. in your-
Oh,
Dave
come
has a
on.
lot of weird cigarette, coffee kind of straw.
I'm so
like-
you letting me smoke in here was like thank you. Dude.
I think if
Oh, no
if-
problem. I'm glad it worked. The
if
thing
he-
works great.
Oh,
if
good.
low-
Sucks all the
if
smoke out.
there's any like low spectrum people watching our show, you can just watch Dave and his cigarettes. You'll learn a lot
and my
about
weird phobias.
Dice was the reason why I put it in. Like if Dice is
How
gonna
much
be a
is he
guest-
smoking now? He doesn't smoke as much
I don't
as he
know.
used to.
I haven't seen him in quite a while. But last time he did the podcast, did he smoke the last time or a time before that? He takes time off, I think. For a while, he would just bring him on stage.
He's smoking. He's smoking.
Smoking a lot.
I saw him. I came on his new podcast recently, and
It's I'm over here.
he made me.
Right?
He made me pretend he was half an hour late, even though I was 10 minutes late. He had a whole bit worked out where I had to go in the studio and just wait and talk to myself, basically, and then he has to come in pretending he's late. That was that was the only direction for an hour and a half. It's so funny, man.
That's
he cracks me
hilarious.
up so much. My second time headlining was opening for Ray Romano in Poughkeepsie. And Dice is at the height of his fame. I'm dressed like him, like you had to be to even get work. And it's like, I'm a Jersey comic, 1990, 91, and Dice is at the Poughkeepsie Civic Center right next door to the Comedy Club. And our hotel, we heard Dice was staying there. People were pulling some fire alarms. It was like the biggest band.
He's a rock star, yeah.
So they were pulling fire alarms to try to get everybody to evacuate. and
Yeah,
see
just
Dice?
so Dice would come out, right?
Wow.
Finally, our show his show's on Saturday, Friday night now. Ray Romano's headlining at Poughkeepsie, whatever club.
Bananas.
Oh yeah, I remember that place.
And just, I'm up there, I'm doing my 10, 15, 12-minute opening, and through the darkness, this guy I kind of recognized from, like, news articles was Club Soda Kenny. He comes through the darkness with a note. It's Friday night. And the note just says, "Please welcome the undisputed king of comedy, Andrew Dice Clay." So as I read it, and the place goes, right? Like,
Oh
so
my God.
Dice
Yeah.
walks on stage, he does whatever, like a 15-minute guest set. The crowd goes crazy. They loved it. And then I learned a lot, actually. Ray Romano came up as the headliner, who was not known at all. He wasn't on TV yet, and killed.
Ray's
He's
a great
still doing his
comic.
props. But I really learned, like, oh, you know what? The audience will watch a great comic no matter what just happened.
Ray was in his prime back then too. I opened up for Ray at Jimmy's Comedy Alley in Queens.
Yep.
And that was when Ray was just, he had done HBO, he'd done something on HBO, but he was just a machine, man. People didn't realize how, I mean, I
He
feel
is a
like
great
he's one of
comic.
those guys that
Yeah.
people don't talk about when they talk about like great stand-up comics,
That's
because
right.
he hasn't put a lot of stuff out there in a long time, ever since Everybody Loves Raymond.
Right.
You know,
He-
a lot of stuff as far as his stand-up.
He
Somebody-
just shot a Netflix special at the Cellar
Yeah.
too, so that should be coming out soon. But you're right; he hasn't
People
put
will
out
see.
anything until I think this is like his first real hour. So
But I know he was working with Kevin James. They did a bunch of gigs together. Because I'm friends with Kevin.
No, he goes
And-
on the road.
But he still murders, was my point.
That's right.
I heard he still murders.
he is a great comic.
He was always so funny, and you could always kind of, someone once described it like you could airdrop him anywhere and his act will kill.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
anywhere in
yeah.
America. Before people
Relatable.
really, we're all kind of the same. Like we all kind of listen to the same stuff now, but
He's another guy. Like, couldn't be a nicer guy. Like,
Yeah.
one of the nicest
He is
guys
the
of
best.
all
He's always
time.
been really cool to me. And,
Always.
and, you know, like
Through the height of his fame, never changed for a second.
isn't it kind of weird how the assholes sort of disappear eventually? You don't even know where they evaporate to.
When,
I'm still here.
you know, you were talking about you're a comedian, you know, almost before you're an American, right?
Yeah.
That's when.
And that doesn't
your
mean I don't
own
love
people-
I'm not trying to act
Right.
like I'm very
Oh no,
in love with where I live.
Of course. I
I've
know,
made
you're
that
just saying
point,
you're
too.
so attached to being a comedian.
It's
And
in my
I'm-
blood,
right?
in a way that
Well,
You feel more comfortable with comics.
Yeah.
and how devastated would it be if the other comics didn't want you around? Right? That's
Man
what
without
it
a
is.
country.
That's where it gets fucking dark, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
yeah.
That's where it gets. So anybody who falls into that group, like you've fucked up. Like the whole thing is to be friends with the comedians.
Yeah, the hang is what
Yeah.
it's about. You know, the
Half
hang.
the
So how did you
fun.
feel? Let me ask you. How did you feel when you were in self? You know, you pulled yourself out of the world at a comedy store where you started. Did you feel like on a desert island by yourself, or did you find community at the other clubs? Or
I never found the same thing, but I just kept working. And I was
Yeah.
always working with Ari and Joey and Duncan. I still kept working with those guys. So it was like I was working with most of the same comics, and I was just doing practice sets at the Ice House and at the Improv. And
I remember all that.
it just, to me, it was more, it was, you know, the hang was not the same.
The
Like,
hang
there's
is-
I would do my sets at the Improv and just get the fuck out of there. There's no place to hang out. It's not like the same
Now you
kinda-
get to do 4 shows. You get to do stand up on the spot, roast battle, main room, OR, and whatever you figure out in the parking lot without ever, and then a podcast in the basement.
You can.
You could literally, if you put a gym in there, you'd probably never leave.
Yeah.
You literally could do everything in that place. You could do I've done 3 shows. No, I've done 4 shows in a night. Because one night I did 2 sets in the main room, 1 set in the belly room, and 1 set in the OR. Because there was 2 shows.
That's crazy.
in the
Dave,
main
I've
room
had
on
to
Saturday
follow
night.
this motherfucker so many times. Everything I ever taped with you on this show, I developed having to try to follow him.
Wow.
Like steamrolling, like civilization, everything from Harvey Weinstein to like his own inner fucking craziness,
That's
all in 20 minutes. So it's like
the crowds, you know, get spoiled when they see so many great acts like just come by and just like for like $10, $20, whatever, they get to see, you know, Chris Rock,
Yeah.
you know, you Joe, and like just like people dropping by and working on stuff. They're like, is it like this all the time? I'm like, you don't even get it. You just saw a $500 show for like, you know, 2 drinks, you know.
Well,
I always
it's-
say that to the people at the Cellar too.
If you're a fan of comedy, it's a fun time. That's
it's
what
Christmas and New Year's right together.
But I attribute all this to the thing that you hate. I
What?
think it's the
The web?
internet. The internet did all this. I think
That's
this
true.
is the reason why everybody's aware of how fun it is to go to a live comedy show, how fun it is to watch guys. Like, they'll go to see you at the store, and then they'll go to see you again 6 months later and go, oh, that fucking
why don't you
dodgeball
credit
bit.
Comedy Central and HBO and Showtime and Netflix and
That's definitely
True TV
true.
and all the ones
Oh.
that air these specials?
Comedy Central definitely made
Netflix
it.
for sure, Comedy Central for sure. All those things definitely attribute to it. But
What about Evening at the Improv?
YouTube is one of the biggest factors. The fact that people can watch stand-up on YouTube. That's a giant factor. The amount of people that are watching YouTube is off the charts. And the fact that they can just type in right now, Jeff Ross stand-up comedy, boom, and instantaneously get it.
Right.
And a lot of those clips come from Comedy Central, right? And HBO and all those other places, which is great. It's like, it all contributes. It's not one thing that did it, but I think the one big important factor was this new channel of distribution, and that's the internet. Whether it's Netflix, which is probably one of the biggest thing right now for stand-up comedy specials ever, right? And there's never been a thing like Netflix.
Well,
like
look what
HBO
we're doing.
was always great.
3 episodes. It's like
exactly. Who else would let you do that?
It takes the pressure off like one shiny special. You know, like you can be more creative with how you present your art.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to do a 2-parter next time, you could. But you don't have to narrow it. Right.
Ari did. With
That's right.
That last, not the current one that he's working on right now, but the last one.
That's right. In the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Ari is so good, man. He's out there.
That's what our Forbes review was
Fantastic.
like harping on, was that like the comedy special is completely reinvented lately. You can do it as a series.
You could do whatever you want.
But as a comedy fan, Netflix is perfect because, you know, you don't have to... You get to control what you see, you know, and you can watch it and stop it and watch it more.
You can't even stop it. I was watching our show when it came out last night. I was just laying in bed watching our new show because I was by myself. It's just, and like when it gets to the end of the episodes, you gotta know where that remote is. You're watching the next one.
The next one comes right at you.
They just try to get you to binge. Come on, you.
I don't understand. It's like, whoa, slow down, man.
Come on, we got another episode.
Our first episode ends with Dave just looking in the camera and being like, our next episode starts at 5, 4, 3.
I heard that you got to see the new Mike Judge animated show about country music called, what is it called? I'm with the band. What is it called?
Wow.
Road Stories from something.
That sounds great.
Yeah, he is another guy, man. That guy is so talented.
Phenomenal. My friend Steve Ranella was just talking about it on his podcast. What is it called?
Tales from the Tour Bus.
Tales from the Tour Bus is supposed to be insanely funny.
Yeah,
it's about
like
country
George Jones and all those guys.
But it's all like gunplay and drugs and chaos, country music stuff.
And then they animate like the story. It's really cool. He really is a talented guy, man.
Funk music greats. This one?
Yes, that's it.
Here's one.
Oh, but wait. I thought it was all country guys.
Yeah, I thought so too, but there's a different...
so
maybe it's
just,
like separate seasons.
Oh, click on that. The Highwayman. Click on Highwayman. So that's with
Willie
Nelson, Spotify.
Yeah,
Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, and Johnny Cash. That's an episode. Damn. But that's just a song.
Highwayman.
So that's the song.
No, that's the group, the Highwaymen, when they all got together.
That song.
That mega group.
Yeah, but that's not an episode of the show?
This is a playlist of songs from the Tour Bus show. That's the confusion. So I went to the webpage here and...
Oh, I get it. Okay.
This must be a new season where they're using the 70s people.
Do you know that song, Highwaymen?
Yeah.
I fly a starship across the universe divide. And when I reach the other side, that's a creepy song, right? It's about reincarnation and dudes falling
you never
into the
fade
dam.
away.
Yeah. Guy fell
That's
into
the people
the Boulder Dam.
built this country.
Yeah. Blood sweating.
But getting them all together, I wonder what that was like.
I know, right? Those guys together singing.
How's it going? How's young Gunner doing? You know,
boys, it's already 3:30.
Oh wow,
time flies.
Rogan, this is amazing, man. Everything we do is like you get 2 minutes or.
Yeah, what a great hang, man.
It's just so fun to be able to express yourself, and thank you.
Well, it's so fun to have you guys on. I fucking loved it. I wish you were here more often. We could do this anytime you want to do it.
Dude, you know, you're good to us, but you're great to comedy. And honestly, I have to tell you, you know, for the young guys, when they heard that I was going to be on here, they were like, basically creaming because you are the shit. You really are, man.
Well,
so
you're
thank
the
you.
shit. You fuck. Stop making me feel bad.
No,
listen,
dude,
both of you are the shit.
You're helping.
You got to come on stage with us sometime.
I'll do it.
And bump mics with us.
I'll bump mics.
Bring your hat.
I'll do it. I have a bumping mic.
How come he has a hat and I don't have a fucking hat?
You have two of them already.
I gave it away to somebody who helped us.
Netflix will hook you up. They'll give you one with Velcro. It's even better. I like Velcro. It's nice.
yeah.
Exact right amount of distance. You don't have to rely on those buttons, little holes.
Rogan's got to pick up his kids and take them out for elk tacos.
I can only imagine the amount of merch your kids have to, come on, put on this shirt, all the merch that people bring in.
Yeah, I don't
Kids,
take it.
grab your bow and arrow. We're going out for dinner.
We have a warehouse full of it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Attell, you can find him on Twitter, but he doesn't use the internet. The real Jeff Ross is you on Instagram, right?
Yes, it is.
You're Dave Attell on Instagram. Do you ever?
Yeah,
do you still post
I'm
stuff?
in there. Yeah.
That iPhone too.
And a shout out to all the whatchamacallit. I did a food drive in Philly the other day. Preston and Steve. It was awesome.
Oh,
and,
nice. I love those guys.
Yeah, they really are cool. And this is like one of the biggest ones in the country. It was great to be a part of it. So many cool comics there. So just thank you again for having that, for
Dave
showing
Attell,
up.
beautiful human being. Jeffrey Ross, beautiful person.
Love
Thank
you, bud.
Love you guys. Bye.